welcome to the 414th episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. My name is Tony. This is the podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is an awesome major supporter. You can be an awesome supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. We're currently we went back to looking back at the Hobgoblin. I love the Hobgoblin. I love the 14-year-long mystery. It was a huge, who the heck is a Hobgoblin? We never knew. A lot of red herrings and everything like that. So we're looking back at those early issues, appearances, just to figure out, like, is it this person, is it this person, and everything. So it's a lot of nostalgic fun, I think. But sometimes I talk about random comic book topics, and I'm open to suggestions, whatever you want to hear extra that we don't have time or really the space to get into on this regular show. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or one. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. All right, what is happening this week? The movie feature is not Naked Gun. I really want to see Naked Gun. I haven't seen it. I don't know. I feel bad that I'm not going to see it because I'd like to support it. I didn't get a chance to see it. Who knows? The movie feature will be Together. Is Together. It is Together. And holy crap, that movie was something. But I feel like it's important to support movies like this too, because this is something original, something different. It's not a franchise. It's not a reboot. It's not a sequel. Definitely got some things to say about that. We have the return of Twisted Metal. I wasn't sure if I was going to see this. And then at first I was like, okay, they're dropping 2 episodes. Okay, that's not bad. And then it's like, no, not 2 episodes, 3 episodes. So we're going to talk about the first 2. So I'll be like an episode behind or whatever, 2, whatever you want to talk. So 2 episodes of that this week. Anthony Mackie, he's great. And I feel like this show is maybe headed a little more towards what the game is supposed to be like. So, the first season was good. We'll get into that. We got more Dexter and then the penultimate episode of Squid Game. Oh, man. And as I record this, I still have not watched the final episode of Squid Game, and I want to just like stop right now and just go and watch it, but got to do this, got to record this, get things moving along. So let's get into the news. Things are still getting crazy as we are in August now. So before I know it, oh my gosh, how is this possible? Like, school's gonna be starting. I'm gonna be back to having the day job and everything, and this summer is just like flown by. And I know people are like, boo-hoo, at least you got a summer vacation, whatever. But, I work over full time. I teach extra classes. I'm teaching Spanish and math, and there's so much to do. Yeah, so I'm back trying to, since I mentioned before, switch classrooms. So I'm having to reorganize my new classroom and get things situated and everything, and making a little progress. But there's still some time. But with the news, not a whole lot of news, and probably because last week was Comic-Con, and so things are people are taking a breather and all that. What I find interesting, there's a report, I think it was in Variety. It's like about Marvel's plans for Deadpool or Deadpool 4. It's like, what is Marvel's plans? And the answer is none. There's a reason that kind of makes sense, but what I find interesting, and one of the things I did post on entertainmentfish.com was the Marvel Legend figures coming out, the upcoming figures. What I found interesting is, it's a majority of X-Men figures, and then like some Spider-Man figures. Was it Spider-Man figures? I can't even think now. But what I found interesting is no Deadpool figures, and maybe because they've made a few Deadpool figures here and there. But you would think Deadpool versus Wolverine is still kind of fresh. I feel like people are still like kind of riding that high or whatever you want to call it. No Deadpool figures coming out. Nothing planned for Deadpool. But at the same time, when you think about it, I mean, how would you fit that in? And it's not like you'd want to say, oh, Deadpool versus Wolverine was success. We need to get on that right away. I think you need to give it a breather and let people digest it, because if you do too much, it's going to get stale. At the same time, you want to do it while you can, and so forth. Ryan Reynolds has mentioned, he doesn't want to do big, long movie, whatever things, because he wants to spend time with his family, which is important. It's crucial. It's great. So, he's making that, and that he's making that choice. What he said before is, he doesn't want to do like just a full-on Deadpool movie, because it's like, what story can you tell now? How can you break him down and have him try to pick up the pieces or redeem himself or anything like that? And they're that's going to be tough. Doesn't mean he can't make a cameo appearance or be in something else. So whether it's X-Men or Avengers Doomsday or something. So we'll have to see. But there's no plans. And apparently, Variety said something about like a industry-wide pullback on superheroes, because we're seeing a lot. People are saying like, oh, the superhero movies aren't doing well. I'd say there are other factors involved. And I think the main thing is, aren't like all box office numbers are down. People are not going to the theaters. Usually when I go, they're not packed. Very, very rarely are they packed. I'm going at the right time or the wrong time or whatever, vice or whatever you want to call it. I feel with movies being available streaming and everything, where it's like, buying a movie ticket, it's like around $15, $15 to $20, right? When movies are available, even like, I bought a digital copy of The Life of Chuck. I love that movie. It will be available on 4K in September, which I probably will buy that. And the reason I say probably is I would love if there was a steelbook. I've mentioned before, or maybe I mentioned it, I'm a sucker for steelbooks. I love having a steelbook. I would love a steelbook copy of The Life of Chuck. I don't know if there's going to be one. So I'll probably buy a 4K copy. Now watch it, after, it'll be like a few months and they'll make a steelbook. They do that sometimes. But I bought the digital copy for $20 because I wanted to see it right. I want my family to watch it. And even though this was July 28th or whatever when it was released, it's August. It's coming, it's just like a month and a half. I didn't want to wait. Buying the movie, it's $20. You can own it for $20 versus going to the theater and watching it for $20. And yeah, there's a difference in the size of the screen and the sound and everything. A lot of people have big TVs and nice sound systems and stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of people are more reluctant to go to the theaters. And there's also, tangent, I keep seeing here, and I can Reddit, I'll keep seeing like horror stories about people who don't know how to go to the movies. Even, what was it I just saw? It might have been during Fantastic Four. This idiot, I'm going to say that, idiot teen, comes in like maybe 5-10 minutes into the movie, and he's like on his phone. And what I think he was doing is I think he was trying to figure out where his friends were sitting. Knucklehead gets there late. It happens sometimes. Traffic, whatever. It sucks. I hate when something happens and you're running late. I don't want to be late to anything, especially to a movie. But I think he was on his phone. I don't know if he's trying to find, but it's like you're not going to text them at least. And if you're trying to call them to figure out where they're at because the theater is dark, they're probably not going to have their phones on. And what you did you buy a seat next to them, because you have to pick your seat. You can't just sit wherever you want. But you got stuff like that, and I've seen like other stuff on Reddit where people are just like straight up talking. And I don't know if it's a COVID thing where people just got so used to watching movies at home, and then they just sit and talk to whoever they're with. That drives me nuts when people talk during movies. Like, you need to listen, and if you're going to talk, one, we either got to pause it, or maybe you're just not into the movie and you shouldn't be watching it. I keep seeing these horror stories where people are just talking during theaters. It's like, yeah, maybe you paid to see this movie, so did everyone else. And they did not pay to hear you talk to whoever or to be on your phone. And like I saw on TikTok, someone's like, I heard like someone's watching a TikTok video or something like that, because they opened their phone and the volume was on. And So I feel like all this stuff, what I'm getting at, is people are reluctant to go to the theater because it did all that. So I don't know, and maybe people are tired of superhero stuff. That's crazy, but it could be. What appears Marvel is doing, they're not going to just stop doing, movies and that. It seems like that instead of doing these big, having to bankroll these big movies, they're going to do smaller stuff with like lesser known actors, because that's going to make the budget smaller. You look at all these movies; they have such huge budgets. And then because they say you have to make like 3 times the budget to be profitable. If a movie, even if it's like 200 million, if you're talking 600 million to be profitable, the movies are barely making, you're lucky if you can get to 500 million or 400, there's something about that, when you're getting these popular actors who have been around, who've done like 5, whatever, however many different sequels and that, their pay goes up because they're considered a success. And, so Marvel's looking, let's do smaller, lesser known stuff. But at the same time, I think Kevin Feige said something that, like, the reasons Thunderbolt and Captain America Brave New World didn't do so well is because there was a lack of familiarity with the characters, which is kind of weird because everyone knows who Sam Wilson is, Anthony Mackie, and he's been around since, Winter Soldier. But, with Thunderbolts, even though you got Yelena and Winter Soldier, you got Bucky, it's people maybe the non-dedicated people like us, maybe they're like, I don't know, I don't want to see this movie. So I don't know, it's crazy. But there's no plans, no sense of urgency for Deadpool. So we'll see. Maybe they're just trying to trick us and he's going to be the hero of Avengers Doomsday. He's going to, solve all the problems. I don't know. Hollywood Reporter was talking about Spider-Man for whatever, Brand New Day. Apparently Mark Ruffalo is confirmed to be in it. Now, does that mean the Hulk's going to be in it or just Bruce Banner? And it's weird. It's like, I'm trying to think, is like, not why, because, I welcome him to be in it, but it's just weird because where we left off, everyone forgot who Spider-Man was. His friends don't know who Spider-Man is. So then where does Bruce Banner, where does Hulk fit into this? And I don't know, that's fine. But also Michael Mando, who's Mac Gargan. Apparently, I totally forgot about this. He was defeated or whatever by Spider-Man at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. And then in the end credits or whatever, he was talking to Vulture and about, so, okay. I should watch those, like the other Spider-Man movies at some point, because it's been a while. There's Sony also released a teaser, just like super duper close up shots of the costume. When I first looked at it on my phone, it was actually, I think it was like was it when I woke up? Like I was like half asleep and I was like looking at this. I thought it was for that Spider-Man 2, what's it called? 2.1 or whatever, the extra scenes, and I was like, is that just a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man? And they're doing this teaser for this? Because they're like, Happy Spider-Man. Was it Spider-Man Day? I don't know. Apparently, it's super close up. I couldn't really make much of it. I didn't like sit there and try to analyze it, but we have that coming up, so that's good. Quiet Place 3. I didn't realize they were going to do a Quiet Place 3, because we've had 3 so far, right? We had 1, 2, and then we had Day 1. So even though it's Quiet Place 3, it's technically the 4th movie. They've announced a date for it, so we know nothing about this movie. It's going to come out on July 9th, 2027. But what we do know, we don't know anything about casting, but what we do know is going to be written and directed by John Krasinski. So that's good. He did the first one. Did he do the first 2? I'm down with that. So, but that doesn't mean, I'm trying to think, what happened and did he survive the second one? Who survived the second one? Because I remember I need to see those again. But I'm down with that. Just don't overdo them. The day one, it was good. It was fine. It was decent. I didn't like super duper loved it, but it was cool. It was way better than I thought. I was like, do we really need this? Because we saw like day one stuff, but it was good. This is kind of weird. Star Wars New Hope. They've announced it's going to be in theaters for its 50th anniversary. But wait, I was like, 50th anniversary? That's it's going to be 2027, April 30th, 2027. And I'm like, wait, we're in 2025, right? So you're talking like almost 2 years from now. Okay, start lining up for your tickets. You don't have to do that anymore. Buy your tickets now. It's too early. So they're saying in essentially 2 years, just under 2 years, it's going to be in theaters. Okay, that's great. 50th anniversary. That is insane. That's crazy. But what's weird, and I guess that makes sense, it's only going to be in theaters for a week. It's like a week-long engagement, week-long celebration. I don't know. I mean, and there's no other information, like which version is this going to be? They've been talking about that they found like the original version, and it's like it looks really bad because it's just so low quality and whatever. So you can't release that. But I think they found one without the crawl. I think there was no crawl at the beginning, or it wasn't called episode 4. And yeah, so that'll be interesting. Oh, one thing I want to say before I forget, I didn't note this. I saw on Instagram, of all places, it seems like that's where I get like a lot of my news. But there's a movie coming out. Oh, where is my phone? I believe it is August 22nd. August 22nd, yeah, Friday, August 22nd. There's a movie called Eeny Meeny, and it's with Samara Weaving, and it looks good. I mean, I love Samara Weaving. I think she is awesome, and it's like a heist bank getaway driver, crazy action, but it's a Hulu original, which is great. It's 20th Century Studios. My thing is, why the heck is this not playing in theaters? I would totally go see that in a theater. But it's just going to be on Hulu. So that's great. You can watch it at home or wherever. But I want to see it in the theater. Eeny meeny. I'll have to try to watch it. I don't know if anything else is coming out that time. Actually, so as I just call it up, it looks like that may be the movie feature that week. Because, we have a movie called Eden. I can't see. I don't know what that is. There looks like... I'm looking at a Ron Howard film. I don't know what that. There's Honey Don't, Neza 2 English dub, Relay, Afterburn, Eeny Meeny, Lurker, Splitsville, and Trust. Yeah, why is that not in theaters? Or what I want to know. That's a bummer. But that looks good. Speaking of Doomsday, this is not really a spoiler or anything, but a theory is that Franklin will become the villain. So stupid. I mean, it's possible. So I'm not saying the theory is stupid. If they do that, that would be stupid. And it could be possible, with what we know from Franklin in the comics and powers and future versions and this and that. But no, I don't want that. I mean, yeah, they could do that. And I saw this like on a news site. I'm like, I am not going to click on that. I don't even want to acknowledge. I don't know who came up with this theory, where it came from. Is it a scooper? Is it just someone making whatever? I have no idea. I don't want to read any specific, like why or what. That's all I need to know. And whether it happens or not, I'm officially saying it's stupid. So hopefully they won't do that. James Gunn said that he started writing the next film. He's been teasing some upcoming film. He hasn't said what it is. So he's writing his next film where Superman has a major role, quote unquote. But the thing, it's not Superman 2. So he said that before, that they're not going to do Superman 2 right away. There's no rush, but we will see Superman and probably Lois and something else, but it won't be Superman 2. And I think that's a good idea. That's a good move. Say what you will about, Superman. I do, and we saw, wasn't there a report about how, like in the Chinese box office, they were not so accepting of Superman. There's this anti-U.S. stance or whatever, and Superman is always seen as truth, justice, and American way. So whether it's an intentional boycott or just whatever, it feels like people are kind of avoiding Superman. At the same time, if James Gunn is going to write this, he can only write so much. He's got his other responsibilities, and if he's writing it, does that mean he's also going to direct it? He could direct it too, but again, he has to oversee other stuff. He has to read other scripts and probably check out other stuff and give his approval, and I don't know how all that works. If they're doing another movie, he's probably going to want to at least be on set at some point, visit the set, see how things are going. If he's giving his stamp of, and I don't know, I mean, it's the same thing with Kevin Feige. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how it works. But if James Gunn is going to be, this is where he's different than Kevin Feige. If he's going to be writing and possibly directing, he can't just do Superman. They have this whole universe that they're fleshing out. So if he's going to do something, is it going to be, maybe it'll be Wonder Woman and Superman's a big role, or maybe it's a Justice Gang and he's a big role. We don't know. But I think that's a smart thing, is don't just go Superman 1, 2, 3, because you have the rest of the DC universe. You're trying to build this universe, so you have to expand. You have to do other characters. We've seen so many characters, and yeah, you can do Mr. Terrific TV show, Jimmy Olsen TV show, but we need to explore other avenues as well to make it financially viable or whatever. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. And then the last bit of news is apparently there's going to be a TV series based off of Hostel, Eli Roth's Hostel franchise or whatever. And Paul Giamatti is going to star in it. I'm trying to remember the Hostel movies, how they weren't, because, what was it? So obviously you go there and bad things happen, but was there like an organization that was like grabbing people, like abducting them from the hostels and that? And so what, is Paul Giamatti going to be the bad guy in charge of it? Like, I don't know. I'm making a big assumption. Sorry, Paul. But I'm looking at, is you're the evil. I mean, maybe he's going to be an investigator trying to find missing kids. Let's try to be positive. I don't know. We'll see. And we'll see what else is going to happen on this episode. But that's going to be the news for the week. All right, with comic books at Dynamite, Space Ghost Johnny Quest, Space Quest number 3 came out, and I'm really enjoying this. So this is by Joe Casey and I think Sebastian Piers. It's so much fun. So basically, what happened is the kids got teleported and switched. So on Earth, Dr. Quest, there's like, what's this alien technology that the army base found it, and they got him trying to, because they want to weaponize it or whatever they can do with it. And what ends up happening is Johnny and Haji, they get switched with the Space Ghost kids, and it's a lot of fun seeing them work with each other after they overcome certain obstacles. Like how do you communicate, because it's different languages and all that. But it's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend this. I mean, if you're a fan, if you ever watched either of the shows, Johnny Quest or Space, they just make it work, and I'm just really, really digging it. Dynamite had some other stuff I didn't check out. The Terminator number 9, I need to get caught up on that. I'm reluctant with just like, here's another Terminator. I feel like there's gonna be too many Terminator stories. I could be wrong. Maybe there's something that's working there. There's also Thundercats Lost number 4. I think I don't know if I ever read past the first issue, but those came out. There was also from Mad Cave, Speed Racer number 1 came out. So this is by David Pepos, and the art is Davide Tinto. I enjoyed this. So there was an issue 0. It was a free comic book day issue, and so what's cool about this is, at its core, it's retaining the majority of the Speed Racer elements, but it's also been updated a bit. Like Spritel, because he's such a knucklehead. He's basically like when Speed races, just doing like some street races or underground racing, whatever. He's recording stuff on a YouTube thing. I think they call it ViewTube or something like that. And he's trying to do this side hustle, like betting on the races and stuff like that. So, you got that update a little bit. You still have the thing where we're at now, Pops doesn't want Speed to race, and part of it's because of what happened with Rex and everything like that. This might be a minor spoiler. I mean, it's not, it's Speed Racer, whatever. But I believe what happened, it sounds like Mom Racer. What is Mom? I don't think she ever had a name. Does she have a name? But I don't think she's in the picture. And I don't think they necessarily said what happened. I am under the impression that she passed. And it was weird because, spoiler, there's a part where Pops is like, he's like talking to someone and he gets like the answer machine. And I forget, he mentions her name. And that's why I question, did they ever mention Speed's, mom's name? Where, he's like, I don't know what to do with the kid and, all the stuff like that. And I was like, wait, Speed's mom is gone and Pops is talking to some other woman? Which is, it happens. You eventually you move on, or I guess some people do, or is he talking to a therapist, or is it just a friend or whatever? What I'm thinking is my idea is like maybe she passed, and he's talking to her answering machine, to her voicemail. Like maybe he kept her self-service going, and he's just calling her. Like even he's always going to get voicemail because obviously she's never going to answer. I don't know. But, then there's mention of like Racer X and stuff like that. But, Pops doesn't want Speed to race because, he's under the assumption that Rex died in a horrible crash and so forth. So, you got all these elements and it's good. I'm digging it. So I recommend if you're a Speed Racer, even if you're not a Speed Racer fan, give it a shot. Mad Cave, they're doing cool stuff. And, I really want to support them, and give them, whatever kudos and props, and because the stuff that they're doing with Gotchaman, and I've always said that my two favorite, Speed Racer or Gotchaman. Which one do I like better? It's such a tough choice. There's just such classic anime. I know there's a lot of cool anime stuff now, but I'm old school, because I just don't have the time to keep up with the cool stuff. I'll see stuff, I was like, wow, that looks like a really cool show. I don't have time to get into it as much as I'd love to. So the fact that Mad Cave has both my favorites now, Speed Racer, and it's like they're making them for me, they're not. But it feels like it. So I highly recommend that. And David Pepos, he's been doing a lot of great stuff. He's also been doing like the regular Space Ghost, which I think the annual wasn't this week, right? Wasn't that last week? I don't remember when I talked about it. Did I talk about it last week? I think I did. But so and he's done stuff at Marvel and everything. So you should definitely check that out. Then at Image, not a whole lot at Image, it looks like. So what I read is, so there's What's the Furthest Place from Here 22. When I saw that, I was like, did I read 21? It feels like as well. And I think I did. I didn't go back and check, like, do I have issue 21? Did I read it? I think I did. But it was a while ago, and there is a note at the end that, they are busy. One of the creators is, I think, working on that. You'll Do Bad Things, which I'm behind on that. I need to get caught up on that. Issue 5 of You'll Do Bad Things came out this week. But what they said with, and there's the other co-creators working on something else. I forgot what it was. So they wanted to wrap up issue 22, and then this kind of, it's not that it's a stopping point, but it's a good pause point, because then their idea, they're like, it might be a few months until the next issue, but they want to make sure they kind of get ahead so they can have a good chunk done, because they're working on multiple books, and that's not easy, and you don't see creators really doing that, especially when you're talking about the art. So you definitely have that. I Hate Fairyland Volume 8 trade paperback. I need to get caught up in that, so that would be a good place to go. I did read something, what was it called? I did read Escape #1. This is by Rick Remender and Daniel Acuna. This comes out, I think it's later this month. So I got to, thanks to Image, I got to read an advanced issue. And there's no embargo on it, I'm pretty sure. So it's basically it's like a war comic. The nice twist about it, I'll talk about more about it later, is, I mean, you look at that cover. When I first saw it, I mean, the reason I read it, I was like, oh, Rick Remender? Of course I'm going to read this. Daniel Cunha? Awesome. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then I didn't really pay attention to the cover so much. But you look at that cover, there's a guy like walking through like a wreckage or whatever. It's like, wait, is he wearing a mask? Why does he have a dog head? What does that mean? And it's just, it's a really, it's a really cool, like, war comic. And it, yeah, with like a twist, I guess you could say. So they did a good job. So you definitely want to keep an eye out for that. I forget the date, but I think it's like in a couple weeks it comes out. At Marvel, there's another Bring on the Bad Guys. Ugh, Loki. I got this weird. I respect Loki. I appreciate Loki. I'm just not the biggest fan of Loki, especially in the comics. Loki movie or Marvel, whatever cinematic Loki, Tom Hiddleston. That's a different story, because he just really captures a vibe or whatever. But comic book Loki, I think I'm just so not interested, because it's always the same thing. He's up to something. He wants a whatever, and it's just bleh. So we get the story. What's interesting though is Loki's like in a predicament, and he ends up like in front of Mephisto, and he basically has to make a bargain with Mephisto. So it's weird. It's like Loki got knocked down a peg, and then the story kind of goes forward, and it was okay, but yeah, I didn't love it. I didn't need to read it. I didn't gain anything from it, but it was okay. It was fine. But Loki's Loki. I mean, yeah. Then there was another one of those gods comic, God period, O period, D period, S period, whatever, which I was intrigued with the concept when it came out. I think that was Jonathan Hickman, right? But this, we get that one, what's his name? Win, I think. It's a One World Under Doom comic. I'm like, are you serious? So we got this Gods thing, which I'm not super crazy about. We got One World Under Doom, which I'm just so done with. This was a decent comic. I actually appreciated what was going on here. And one of the interesting things, what I'll say about this character is, I was fascinated with that concept of this. It's like, who is this dude? Who are these people that we've never heard of? It seemed kind of crazy. Like, you can't just introduce these all-powerful level people and that they've never been around anywhere. And the reason we've never seen them is because they're kind of like above them. They're better. They don't want to bother. The regular Marvel denizens are beneath them, type of thing. And this dude Wynn, he feels he's kind of like above all this, and. But he does know who Dr. Doom is and stuff like that, and it was I enjoyed this comic, so I'm surprised. Incredible Hulk came out. I did not read that. I would like to start reading Hulk again at some point. I will. I do want to read this one, but I don't know. What if Goofy became Spider-Man? That is ridiculous, but. It sounds like it could be a lot of fun. I did not read that. What I should have read that instead of Savage Wolverine #1. I mean, no offense to the writers. So Tom Bloom wrote it, art by Devmalia Pramanik and Guillermo Sana. This takes place shortly after, I guess, the fall of Krakoa. And after Krakoa fell, Wolverine went off on his own because he's grumpy pants. And basically, he ends up in this small town, and there's this stuff going on. It's like, are people anti-mutant? What's happening here? And this whole big thing going on. He gets like pulled into it and all that. It was an okay story, but again, just a point where nothing really came out of it. Like, I didn't gain anything out of it. There's like no like evolution, and you don't necessarily have to have that. It's not like every single comic has to be like, oh, groundbreaking, or we're going to do this, we're going to add this element or this. But at the same, it's just weird, because the way I look at it is like, comics cost a lot of money. You can't say, oh, people like Wolverine, so we're going to make another Wolverine comic to get people to buy it. But no, I mean, people have to be frugal with their spending because, there are still a lot of comics coming out, and basically they need to make a choice like, oh, Savage Wolverine. But if I get that, I can't read What If Goofy Becomes Spider-Man because, I have a limit on my comic book. I don't know. It was just okay. I whatever. Spider-Man versus Sinister 16. This, going along the same route, did this really add anything overall? No, but for me personally, what it did add was a little bit of entertainment. I was more entertained by this than by Savage Wolverine. So this comic, when you look at the title and the cover, it's a little misleading. And I don't know. The other reason why you probably want to check this out if you haven't already, it's written by J. Michael Straczynski. He's been a little hit or miss, lately with some of it. He did like the Captain America and someone, and Sif, I think it was. That was okay. That was decent. But he did some other stuff, and there were like some of them were just like, okay, this is fine. But the art is by Phil Noto, so it's like, come on. It's like, how can you not want to get this book with you got those two working on this? And so it's a little more lighthearted than what you would think. Basically, what ends up happening is Peter manages to take Mary Jane out. So that's another plus. Peter and Mary Jane are together here, as they should be. He's taken her out on a date to this super exclusive restaurant. And she's like, how did you get us in there or whatever? And he finagled some way using Tony Stark's name and whatever. Tony Stark got an invitation, and Peter was able to use it, whatever, and stuff like that. But as they start going there, other people start showing up. Because I'll just say the first people that show up is Thor and She-Hulk, and Thor knows Peter is Spider-Man. She-Hulk at this point, she does not. And then it's like just a little awkward exchange and stuff like that, because she's like, oh, how do you know each other? And Thor is like, or one of them says, I don't know if Thor said, I remember he's like, oh, he's a consultant to the Avengers. And she's like, what do you consult with? And he's like, everything or anything. So a little awkward. But then like some other people start showing up, and like a Doc Ock shows up, and it's just like, what is happening here? So it's, I did enjoy this comic. Then we have Spider-Man and Wolverine, number 3. It's not called Into the Savage Land, is it? No. Spider-Man and Wolverine. Yeah, so this, first when you look at the cover, it's like, wait, why is Spider-Man in his black costume? He wasn't last issue, was he? So then I was like, wait, what happened last issue? Oh, wait, that's right. Last issue, Wolverine tries killing Spider-Man. So let's recap where we're at. Little spoilers on the first 2 issues. Wolverine picks up Spider-Man. He's like, oh, you need to come. And, whatever. Peter's like on a date with Shay, and Wolverine just like shows up and says, we got to go. There's like these these shield files. And again, maybe I need to reread that first issue, but Wolverine needs Spider-Man to help hack the files. It's like, Spider-Man, he's smart. He's not a hacker. They're like, why, of all people, you're going to go to Spider-Man to hack? That's like, Iron Man should hack, or other, who knows? So then they're fighting. I think they end up, there's a helicarrier. I don't know if they're in the Savage Land at that point. I don't remember. But then Wolverine's fighting, like, I think it's Kraven the Hunter or someone, and Spider-Man's got the files, and then he sees a video of his parents, like on a plane, like before they die, and he's like, holy crap. And then who comes up behind him with a knife? Wolverine, Logan. And then, so it's like, wait, Logan killed his parents? And when Spider-Man confronts him, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I did a lot of bad things at that point in my life. So it's like Wolverine may have, and he looked very threatening in the short video. So it's like, did Wolverine kill, Peter's parents? That's insane. And it's possible. So then they get in this huge fight. Spider-Man loses it. They're fighting, and it gets to the point where Wolverine's like, "Ugh." Then he starts getting all huffy and everything like that. And it's like, oh, boo-hoo, you're mad because, yeah, Spider-Man's, who wants to get hit? But he's got a healing factor or whatever. So then he pops his claws because that's all he can do, right? It's like, oh, big man, big little man, you have to, unleash your indestructible razor sharp claws, and then whoosh, he's like stabs him, and he's like practically kills Spider-Man. And then this picks up, maybe now they're in the Savage Land, maybe they weren't before, I don't remember, but they try talking, and Wolverine's, he's trying to say, like, I don't know if I killed him, but then they end up having to work together because Spider-Man, obviously he's a hero, but he's still angry, and we'll find out soon. Then there's The Thing, issue 3. So this is by Tony Fleeks. I'm enjoying this comic. Justin Mason's art. I really like the art too. Alex Sinclair does a color. And I will always say, whenever I get a chance, Alex Sinclair is like one of the nicest guys in the industry. So I'm always happy to see his name on a book. But Tony Fleeks he's super cool too. And I haven't met Jason Mason, but this is it's a weird Thing comic. And, some of the people he's fought against, and he's trying to save this girl, is like, from the daughter of a, childhood friend from Yancey Street. And it's like, wait, why does a kingpin want her? Why are all these people coming at him like superpower? Like, why is Bullseye amped up? Like, and why is he attacking, the Thing? And then they're like, well, we need to send out everyone after the Thing. So it just starts getting crazy, and I'm really enjoying it. The Ultimates, number 14. So we see this, all these like evil, scummy business people. They're mad at what the Ultimates are doing. They're tearing apart all their evil schemes and stuff like that, and weapons and stuff like that. So they have this consultant, which I won't spoil who the consultant is. But it's cool to see ultimate version of this character. But they are able to send some people after the Ultimates. And you can see on the cover, we got Pietro. I guess it's not super obvious, but it's Pietro and Scarlet Witch. So Captain America and the ultimate version of Hawkeye are, trying to deal with this situation. And then they have, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch to deal with. And what's interesting is like the way they describe like Quicksilver when he first takes, he goes after Captain America and he's using his powers to like the extreme. And a lot of times, you think about someone able to move at super speed, even like the punching and stuff like that, this is a constant. I feel like a lot of times they underplay like just how deadly that could be. So it's kind of nice to see a little like no holds barred like reaction or usage of the characters. So yeah, things get crazy there. Ultimate Spider-Man number 19. I don't think I mentioned it, but I posted it at Comic-Con. They announced, because we have Endgame, Ultimate Endgame or whatever coming up in December. And they've announced that Ultimate Spider-Man is ending with issue 24. And that sucks. I kind of figured it was going to happen. And I think I mentioned it is, at some point, Jonathan Hickman is going to want to move on. He's done, again, here you say, he's done amazing things, no pun intended, with Ultimate Spider-Man. But he's not going to want to do it forever because he's going to want to do other things, I'm sure. Or maybe, and what he said in his statement that he got to do everything that he wanted to do. Like he's like, here's my list, here's the things I want to do. Marvel's like, okay, so he's done all that, and the series is coming to an end. And part of me is like, I feel like, and I think what I said is like, Jonathan Hickman is not the only person who could write Spider-Man or this ultimate version of Spider-Man. He's laid out everything. He's done it so well. But someone else could come in and tell some cool stories. But we could also get someone else to come in and tell just mediocre, like, decent stories that aren't as great. And then it's like, we just have another Spider-Man comic. And we don't need just another regular Spider-Man comic. And, it would be a shame to have like all this cool, just this whole little corner of the Ultimate Universe, I like that there hasn't been any crossovers in that. I don't want there to be, because this is just has such a great feeling, vibe, or whatever you want to call it. And if someone else came in, it could kind of take away from that, and not necessarily ruin it, but it would be unfortunate. What I feel like is going to happen, if the Ultimate Universe is going to continue after Endgame, which I would assume it will, unless the numbers are down, I assume Ultimate Spider-Man is going to end at issue 24. We'll get this Ultimate Endgame, and then they'll announce a new Ultimate Spider-Man with a new creative team, and then go from there. And hopefully, when they do that, it will be just as awesome. We want to think positively. But this issue, it's what can I say? I mean, it's good. There's a lot of cool things. Stuff with like Richard Parker and him using the black suit. Something crazy comes up, but there's a lot of interesting things here, I would say, and you can see how things are definitely heating up, and Kingpin's not going to take things lightly and everything. So yeah, it's getting bad for our heroes, our characters. We had Vision of Scarlet. Maybe I need to be reading Vision of Scarlet Witch. Issue 3. It's like, wait, why are they embracing? I thought that they're like so not a couple anymore and everything. So maybe I need to back up and read those. And then we had Werewolf by Night, which I'm not reading that. What issue are we on with that? Blood Moon Rise #1. I don't understand. I thought there was an ongoing series. At DC, I think this was like the 5th week thing. There wasn't a whole lot. We had Titans 2025 Annual #1. I wasn't going to read this, but I was like, oh, I mean, I'll see. Then I was like, I really like the style. It almost has like a classic. It's Phil Jimenez. And I didn't even read the credits, whatever. Phil Jimenez wrote and drew this, which if I would have seen that in the beginning, I definitely, I wouldn't have hesitated. So this is really a Donna Troy story. And we just really see who she is. And I think part of the reason for this is because how they're kind of like tweaking, and it's so weird that they're tweaking the history of the DC universe, even though there hasn't been like a crisis. There hasn't been any reason. Why are things suddenly changing now? And there's no reason for that. But I've always been a little confused with Donna's history. It's like, wait, what's her story? Is she from Themyscira? She was married. She has a kid. Where are they now? What happened to him? And stuff like that. So I feel like I missed some stuff in between. And it's like, wait, who's she dating? Who, whatever, what's going on? And where's she been now? Or, she's been gone for a while. And so we kind of get her story, and like, from the beginning, and like going to Paradise Island and when she left and everything like that. What the most, like, the fascinating thing I found here is, she's trying to figure out like her real dad, her birth dad, or biological father. That's what I'm trying to say. And because it turns out that there was a father. Father left her mom, and that was the other thing. I wasn't really sure. It's like, wait, is Donna's not from? I know she's not Wonder Woman's sister, but she always calls her sister. She's from there, but then it's like, wait, she's not actually from Paradise Island. And I don't know if that's something that's been changed or whatever. Maybe she wasn't and they retconned it or whatever. I don't know. But here, she is not. She was basically adopted by Hippolyta. And, so then, she's trying to track down her dad. And so I found it kind of interesting. And I wonder if some people are going to complain about, like, one aspect of it. And if it gets them angry, I'm glad it gets them angry. It's sad that it gets them angry, but I'm glad it's like, deal with it. But I really thought it was like a touching story in a lot of ways, and just seeing how everything and I feel like they also made Donna cool, because there was a flashback, and we've seen it when like the Teen Titans Year One or whatever it was, where Robin has a team over like in the Batcave, and he's like, okay, we can only be in these levels, we can't do this, whatever. But then it turns out like they're not supposed to be there, because then Batman arrives. He's like, you guys out, and like Robin's in trouble, and he's like freaking out because he's like, he's gonna get rid of me. He's mad at me. He's not gonna trust me, and Donna like had an important role in whatever. So I really enjoyed that. I'm glad I read that, because I do really like the Teen Titans. I just haven't been keeping up with them. So that was good. Justice League Dark Tomorrow special. You definitely want to read this. You don't want to pass up on this. This is more with the time. There's like some stuff coming up. We have a Wave Rider in here. It's like, wait, what? I haven't seen him in a while. And there's a lot of stuff about time travelers. They talk about Hank Hall. I was like, I totally forgot that whole mess, Armageddon, and all that craziness that happened during that time. And then we have all the time displaced heroes, like Terry McGinnis, Batman, Batman Beyond, Jonah Hex, and everything like that. And we have more stuff with Airwave, where he's feeling really bad that he was manipulated and everything like that. So this I really enjoyed this, and there's definitely things coming. So you're going to want to check that out. Batman Long Halloween, I somehow fell behind on that. There was a Nightwing 2025 annual. When I saw this, I was like, oh, it's an annual. Okay, so what does this mean? I was like, oh, Francesco Francavilla, that's cool. His art and color is always great to see. But I was like, oh, this is probably just going to be like a one-off story. But it's not. We really find out a lot about. I mean, this if you're reading the current Nightwing comics, this is essential reading for that. This is really the story of, I forget her name, even though this comic was about her. The lady that came to Bloodhaven, that convinced the mayor, Dick's half sister, to bring in, use this security force to do stuff. And so we find out like more about her story and her background, and it's kind of crazy. It's like whoa, this is getting kind of nuts. So you're going to want to check that out. We had the Flash 23. I have no idea what's going on in there. There is Sonic DC X Sonic the Hedgehog issue 5. How did I miss like the first 4 issues of that? Which I don't know if I would have read them, but there's that. Gotham City Sirens, and then there was California Love. I was like, wait, what is going on here? Because you look at this cover, like front and center, you got Superman, arms crossed, sunglasses on, like he's too cool for school. Next to him, you got like, is that Supergirl or Power Girl? Power Girl, maybe? I don't know. I can't tell with the costume. She's wearing sunglasses. You got Connor, Superboy, wearing glasses. You have who's next to Superman with the big hat? It's like, that's not Lois, is it? And then you got, what's his name? I can't remember his name. The Superman of China with sunglasses. And what this is like one of those oversized comics with a bunch of, see how many pages is this? Is a $9.99 comic, 80 pages. The only reason I would be tempted to read this is Joshua Hale Fiacobb does a story, but I'm not a fan of these 80-page comics, these oversized 80-page, 100 pages. And maybe you get your money. I just find it weird, and this is the other thing. When someone goes in a comic store, and I cannot speak for other people, because when I get comics, it's for the podcast. But if someone's like an actual, a regular reader, casual reader, whatever, are you going to pick up a book for $10? And yeah, if it's 80 pages thick, you're like, wow, there's a lot of comic here. It's only $10. These other comics are like, the annuals were like $5 each, but they're oversized as well. But it's just weird. And my problem, and I may be in the minority here, these oversized comics, a lot of times they're just, not that to me, they kind of feel like filler stories. They're just these like short stories or the one-off stories, and then that's it. But why these books are so important for someone like who I loved, Joshua Hale Fialkov. Maybe he has a story, and I forget, I don't even know who he wrote because I didn't read this, but again, I'm tempted because of that. Maybe he has this really cool story on, Power Girl or whoever that he wants to tell. It doesn't fit anywhere. And, or even if it's like a Superman story or whoever, you're not going to interrupt like, oh, Joshua Williamson has been, is writing Superman for 3 years or whatever. You're not going to interrupt and put this other story here because it wouldn't fit with what's going on. And when you got these, with the main titles, you want there to be consistency. You want I want to have a long running team as long as they're telling great stories. So then what that means is that if other writers have a story they want to tell, they can't tell the stories because they can't squeeze it into the regular ongoing stuff. So then you get books like this. These I kind of see them as like showcase stories, showcase for the creators. It's an opportunity. It's an awesome opportunity for these artists and writers to tell a story on these big major characters, and they probably have a time of their lives doing this, telling these stories. And they're not committing. Maybe they would love to commit, get a long-term deal contract with one of these characters, but maybe they're like, yeah, I just got this one story to tell. I'd rather do this other stuff, my own stuff, my creative stuff, or whatever other stuff. So that's awesome. That's great. But for me, because time, and I'm spending way too much time even talking about it, I could have read. Well, probably I'd still be reading it instead of talking about it. But that's the dilemma for me, is they take longer to read, and maybe I'm just like jaded. A lot of times, they're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's cool. But maybe other people really, and I hope people really enjoy them because, I want people to appreciate, what the hard work that people are putting into it. But it's just, and this is that title. It's like, what's going on? So I didn't read it. Let me know if you read it, if I should read that, because like I said, I am tempted, but I didn't. And that's it. So that's all I read this week. That is comics for this week. All right, and now time for Squid Game Season 3, Episode 5, Circle, Triangle, Square. So this is the penultimate episode. We are almost there, and things get pretty crazy. So I'm just going to jump to it. And as I record this, I still have not watched the final episode. It feels like how long? It feels like it's been forever. I'm enjoying the show. I know people have said that this was what'd they say, like unbalanced season or something like that. I don't really understand that because I'm not that I'm on the edge of my seat, but I kind of am, to as much as that's possible. I mean, it's not like crucial, whatever. Like, I can't sleep at night because I'm thinking about. But I am wondering, is like, how is this going to end? And I think, and I don't know what the ratings are because I haven't looked at that. And maybe it falls apart in episode 6. So I guess we'll find out next week. But it's a little absurd, some crazy, but I think that's, you just kind of embrace it. And I really don't remember much about the first season. I feel like I remember bits of it. It feels like it was so long ago. I don't know if things are just getting more absurd, but I think you just kind of embrace that. I don't know. So it starts off, guard 11. She's, by the big fan vent on the cliffside. She climbed up. She's there. She shoots the fan a few times to stop the blade. And I guess she knows or has to hope that the sound won't echo through like all the vents or whatever. I mean, I don't know the layout of that. Maybe she does. But she makes her way inside, because if the fan stops. In the big common room, baby 222 is sleeping in a bassinet. 456 kind of like smiles, stands over her. Then he gets serious. He looks at the sleeping beds. He walks over. He has that blade in his hands. Because remember, last episode, front man gave him the blade. He's like, kill all the players while they're sleeping. They ate a lot. They drank a lot. They're probably out. Just kill them one by one while they're sleeping. So he goes over there. He, front man's watching on the camera, of course. And it's so hard to understand what is front man's motives. I mean, obviously he's kind of sick and twisted to some extent, because he killed 456's friend right in front of him. Here he's giving him the opportunity to win, but he's like, do this, you and the baby will survive. But and so it's like he's giving him the chance. Obviously, he's playing 456 because he's making it 456 has to sort of innocently whatever kill all these guys while they're sleeping. That's something that he knows 456 isn't about that. He has to do it to save himself, but to the bigger extent, to save the baby. So it's like, will he do this? But he also said that if it's just the two of them that win, then that's going to put an end to the game. So if this puts an end to the game, what's his motive? If whatever. He's watching, frontman's watching, and then 456 puts the blade up to 100 strokes. and I can't stand 100. So it's just like, okay. So frontman thinks back to when he was sitting in front of the previous frontman, the previous number one dude, and he asks why the hesitation. He's like, tomorrow morning the others will come for you. Do everything they can to kill you. So take the knife. So it's basically like the same situation. He's like, take the knife and kill them. At this point, it's the best chance you got. He hesitates and then he takes it. So then we see 456 is hesitating. He puts both hands on the blade and the tip's like touching the throat. Then so we see this. Then the blade goes in. And I felt bad because I was like, yes, 100 steps, but it's like, no, I shouldn't be cheering for him to death, but he was such a scumbag and did he kill 100? No, because it's like crazy editing. It cuts back to the flashback. The other guy, the other front man, player one, he stabs a guy in the throat and then stabs him over and over again, like 17 times, and his hand's shaking. As I was like, dude, you're going to make a lot of noise or whatever. But then we see like behind him, there's like 3 other dead bodies. So I don't know if this was the last guy or whatever. So then in the present, front man watches. 456 is holding the blade. Then he hears Cybiuk, player 67 from season 1. And I had to think back about her because she's a little like bruised or whatever. And she's like sitting on the floor and she's like, "Mister, don't do it. That isn't you. You're a good person at heart." And he pulls the blade away and he looks over and she's not there, obviously. But I guess it's like a nice way to have a cameo, even though, she died in the first game, whatever. So she's gone. Stupid 100 is sleeping. He has no clue. The front man watches and he can't, I couldn't figure it out. And maybe, I don't know if we'll find out in the next episode, but is he disappointed? Is he proud? Is he jealous? What's going on in his mind? So 11's crawling through the ducts. And I feel like there's just like, it's not, the time isn't in sync with the stuff that's happening with the boat and with all the stuff inside. But I don't know. Maybe it's just edited incorrectly or they don't worry about it. But she's just like crawling and she's making a bit of noise as she's crawling, G.I. Joe style, whatever, if you know what that means. She's just crawling, on her front. And as her arms, she's like bang, 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 as she's like can move, and she's not worried about any noise, whatever. So a sick girl's dad's on the boat, and it's like his wound is bleeding, or he's in a little bit of pain from where he got shot. June. The detective is steering the big boat. Kim is standing in the front, the mercenary dude. I think he was a mercenary, right? He's at the front with binoculars, but he can't see much because there's a bunch of fog. June says the radar is showing a landmass at 2 o'clock, but then the radio turns on. And the front man's like, "Detective Hwang Jun-ho, can you hear me?" So the front man, remember, front man is June's brother. June's, he's like, my brother disappeared years. He's been trying to find him. And he's the one that shot him, but he shot him in a way where he wouldn't die, and he had the captain pick him up. So he's like, "Can you hear me?" So June picks up the radio. He's like, "Yes." "Give up while you still can." And he's like, "Why didn't you let me drown back then?" And there's like a pause. "If you don't stop looking for the games, you'll die." And then June's like, "If that's what it takes." And the front man like hangs up the call and sighs. In the common room, the lights turn on, alarm buzzes, music plays. The players slowly wake up. 222 cries. PA says the final game will begin momentarily, so make your way towards the game hall. 11, she's looking through a vent. She's over like an office or something like that. She jumps down, goes to the computer, and then you see like circle, triangle, square on the screen. There's a login prompt there. The players are walking in the big pink stair room. They're still in their tuxedos from the last night. Mask manager dude, he walks into the office, and 11 has her rifle pointed at him. And he's like, "Are you here alone? I told you to bring the guy back here with you. She's like, I'm sorry, sir. And he scoffs. He's like, I thought I knew you better than anyone else could. She's like, if you did, you would have known that I'd never follow that order. And he's like, what do you want now? She's like, delete his record. Everything you have on player 246. And we see like the record on the screen. And it says, do you want to permanently delete this file? And he clicks it. And she's like, was that everything? He's like, that's it, including the records on the main server. She's like, I'm sorry, sir, but I have to get rid of the records you have in your brain. And so she's going to kill him. And he's like, oh yeah, I nearly forgot. We keep hard copies of everything. Those will need to be destroyed to truly give 246 a clean slate. And she's like, where are they stored? And he spins his chair to face her. The archives in the front man's office. And the only ones with access to the top floor are him and myself. That's it. So then the door to the arena opens up. The room is huge, and it looks like there's these like 3 big columns. There's yellow, blue, and pink. And like it looks like there might be like some stairs carved on the sides because it's like so high up. The VIPs are watching like they have like their own suite, at the top, like above the towers. 11 makes the mass officer, she takes him in an elevator at gunpoint, and it's like, please select your floor. So she tells him slowly. He reaches for the button, pushes it, and he turns around, grabs her rifle, he like shoves her back, back at the elevator, struggling. She hits him. She like goes to shoot, but then he like pushes the rifle up. So lots of shots are fired. I guess no one's going to hear this. In the arena, players are told to head towards the elevator directly ahead of them. So in the middle is like the big yellow pillar, but it's more like a rising platform. It's not really like an elevator. The mass officer and 11 are still struggling. There's more shooting. The elevator opens and the rifle gets knocked out of their hands. And then they're in that big long room where 456 met with the front man. So 11 ends up on the floor. The doors close behind and the rifle was inside the elevator. He moves to kick her while she's down, but she ducks. There's more struggling, hits and misses and flips. They're like just fighting in this like hallway thing. It's not really a hallway, but it's kind of like a long stretch. The players reach the top of the tower. So the yellow one is a square in the middle. Blue is a triangle. Pink is a circle. There's like no railing or anything at the top. And then, players, congratulations. Welcome to the final game. The final game is Squid Game. Meanwhile, Mass Officer has 11, like he has a hold of her from behind. She breaks free, but then he lands a solid kick that sends her flying back, and he like walks slowly to her. She like grabs his belt to pull herself up. But it's like, dude, you should have grabbed or punched something else. Then he throws her. She like smashes into a cabinet or something like that. And then he takes off his mask and tosses it. He's like, why the hell are you doing this? He's like, I saw the records. I know you and 246 worked together at that amusement park. And then he takes off her mask and grabs her by the throat. He's like, what? You got a crush on him or something? And she's like, if player 246 dies, then so will the kid. He's like, you talking about his daughter? And he like scoffs. He's like, did you really do all this to protect some kid? He's like, I'm curious. Does it make you feel better about abandoning yours? And she's like, I'm begging you, let them go. He's like, I get it, to an extent. And he pops like a switchblade. He's like, but you already crossed the line. Can't go back now. He like thrusts the blade, but somehow she manages to like flip him, grab it, and pin him to the floor. And she's like on top of him, like pushing the blade down. He manages to shove her off, and there's a standoff. He like she has a blade. I think she slashes his shoulder. She's like slashing again, but keeps moving back and dodging it. Then he grabs like a drink glass, uses it to block the blade, and then smashes the glass over her head. And then she drops the blade. And she's dazed, which is so weird because so many times people get hit in the head with bottles or glass or something like that, and they just like they maybe just like shake their head, but they brush it off like it's nothing. Here, she is dazed, and he's like, I didn't bring you all the way here just because the two of us are from North Korea. It's just that I thought you understood me better than anyone else. And he picks up the blade. We're the same. I lost the only person I cared about over there, all because I couldn't get one kidney. He scoffs. He's like, then I get here and see all these, and he like stabs her, and she like groans in pain, and then his radio goes off. Officer, this is the control room. He like yanks the blade out. Officer, do you copy? He's like, go ahead. We are all set to start the game. Everyone is standing by. And 11 like tries crawling on the floor. He's like, get started. I'll be there shortly. So he turns on the big screen, sees the players on top of the yellow tower. He's still looking at the screen. He's like, I was wrong about you. Should have thrown you into the game with the rest of the trash. You ditched your kid to save yourself? I thought you were different. He takes a cigar out of a box. She's like crawling towards the elevator. He like lights up the cigar. It's like time to stop worrying about someone else's child and see your own in the afterlife. I'll try to make it painless. He turns and sees she's about like maybe halfway down this little hallway. And he's like scoffs. Trying to run again? He grabs a knife. Where are you going? What are you thinking? You know the elevator won't work. You need my mask to get anywhere. And she like hits the elevator button. The door opens to the elevator, but it won't work. So she can open the elevator. But then his face sinks because he sees the rifle in the bottom of the elevator. He runs and leaps at her, but then, and she like makes Swiss cheese out of him. So he's gone. In the arena, attention players, I will now explain the rules. There will be 3 rounds. You will start on the square pillar, move. Okay, so wait, no, they're not in the middle. I was wrong. They're they're to the right of them. You will start on the square pillar, move to the triangle pillar, and finally end up on the circle pillar. On each shape, you will play a pushing game. Starting on the square pillar, you are all currently standing on. If you, as a group, manage to push 1 or more players off while they are still alive, the round will end, and all remaining players will be moved to the triangle pillar. Likewise, if you're able to eliminate 1 or more players on the triangle pillar in the second round, then you will move to the circle pillar. Finally, if you eliminate 1 or more players on the circle pillar in the third round, then the remaining players on that pillar will be the game's final winners. Please keep the following in mind. So 125's like look behind him. He sees fingers on the edge of the pillar, like someone's hanging on. So 125 is a timid guy, and he was like having withdrawals. But the nails are different colors. Who could that be? If you fail to eliminate at least 1 player within a round's given time limit, then all players on the pillar will be eliminated. And then you see like stupid 100, 203, 336. They all look at 456 like they're like cool badasses. It's like you guys are just such losers. The VIP one, I think that's what closed caption calls her, just a lady. She's looking through binoculars. She's like, well, we know which 3 are going to get eliminated. And VIP, another dude's like, guess we'll have to see in what order. 456 is slowly backing up. He's almost at a corner, and the baby's like fussing a little bit. And then we hear Thanos' voice, Minsu. Timid guy slowly approaching the hands. Minsu, oh Minsu. And it's friggin' Thanos. Thanos who died last season. He's hanging there. He's like, my brother, I missed you. Help me out here, dude. Minsu. And he releases one hand, reaches. I was like, how is this possible? He reaches in, like into his jacket. He's like, you need pills, right? And he holds up the cross necklace. He's like, I got you, okay? It's like, please. Minsu like reaches, almost has a cross, but then someone grabs his ankle, and it's all blood. It's Thanos' friend, the guy that died off the jump rope thing, right? Was it the jump rope? Yeah. And he's like, I got you now, you stupid witch, you wussy. He's like, hey, give me the pills, huh? Give me the pills. And he starts like yelling and cursing. And Thanos like, my boy, Minsu, dude. He's like, you won't be able to handle it. And then Thanos' friend is like, you poophead, give me the pills, okay? And then Thanos starts cursing, calls him a coward. Timid guy kicks Thanos in the face. And then he kicks Thanos' friend. But then it cuts to, he's really kicking nothing. He's literally on the edge of this big pillar, kicking like the air, and he almost loses balance a couple times. And then he backs away towards the group. 333 is watching. The other dudes, they're like, what's he doing? But the other guys are mainly scheming. One's like, just think about it. They'll count as 2. It's like, what do we do with that guy? And players, to begin the first round, please press the button on the ground. They look around, and in a panel, there's like a big pole in the middle, or the platform that they're on. So this panel opens up, and there's a big red button. So 100 touches it with his foot. The game has now begun. And then a timer starts with 15 minutes counting down. 100 loudly says that, they should think this through and try not to panic. He's like, look, we all know where pushing and shoving will lead. If we do that, we could all end up dead. Agreed? He's like, now this is tough, but all things considered, I think the best option at this stage is to lose 1 each round so we can keep the rest alive. What did you say so? The other agrees. 456 watching. 336, it doesn't matter. He's just one of the other dudes. He's like, but that means we still have to figure out how we pick the guy who's getting the axe. He's like, that's a tough one, isn't it? 353 says that they should vote. After all, this is how we decided to keep playing in the first place, right? Voting on who to eliminate in each round is a democratic option. 203 claps. He says that, voting is nice and fair. 353 said, well, if we really want to be democratic, we should nominate a player and thoroughly discuss the option presented and then vote and see what happens. Another's like, isn't this the guy who said he was a teacher on the outside? No wonder he's so smart. It's like so cheesy. 100's like, since there's no rush, I think we should start thinking about who we want to eliminate. They all look at 125, timid guy. And then the baby fusses too. 39 stammers. He's like, I think that player 222 is the one we should eliminate. 100's like, why choose the baby over everyone else? 39's like, well, I mean, just think about it. The mother was eliminated, and now it's the last game, and she's not even here, but her kid gets to continue. I don't think it's fair. 353 is like, I agree. Allowing 222 to come back to the game as her child was wrong in the first place. That thing isn't able to vote on its own or play the game. If we eliminate 222 now, I truly think it'll make both the game and the voting process a whole lot fairer for everybody. 203 says to 456, he's like, look, I don't talk as good as you, but that lump you're holding, say, it gets out of here alive. What the hell is it supposed to even do? Its mother's dead, and I'm pretty sure dad's out of the picture. 33 standing right there, he's just silent, not saying anything. So who's going to take care of that little baby? Use your brain. It's got no chance of making it. Can't you see that? 456 is just standing. He's like at the corner now. And it's like, 5 guys crowding him. 333 is like a little like in the back. And timid guy is like almost like the opposite corner. 100 is like, if no one objects, I say let's vote to see if player 222 is our final pick. 333 is like, wait. And he holds up a hand. He's like, I object. So 100 is like, go ahead. And 333 is like, we have 3 rounds to play, right? So we need to make sure this decision is rational. He's like, let's look at player 456. I think he'll do whatever it takes to save the kid. Another guy's like, sure, yeah, it might look that way now, but if we threaten him and say we're going to push them both off, I'm sure he'll let the kid go, huh? He doesn't look like he wants to die now. 100's like, that's true. Another guy's like, I'm not so sure. There's something we should consider. Remember jump rope? How he went across the bridge like that, carrying the kid? I don't know, but he's not going to just let it go. 100's like, crazy bastard. You don't think, is he the dad? And 203 is like, screw this. I say we push them both off and be done here. 353 is like, that's not an option. We still can't lose more than 1 per round if we all want the 6 of us to make it. Is that still not clear to you? 100 is like, well, how do we get this guy to let go of the kid? We need to do that. We can't push them together. And we see they have 9 minutes, 51 seconds left. 333 is like, I think for this round, we should choose someone easier to eliminate. And then he turns and looks at timid guy. 11's dragging mass officer's body halfway into the elevator and this way so the door won't close. Meanwhile, 333 is like, player 125. It's like, we all know he's a drug addict, but it's like he took 2 pills. He's like, and it looks like he's going through withdrawals. Who knows what he's capable of? It makes sense for us to eliminate him this round, then figure out how to separate the kid in 456 afterwards. 100 claps. He's like, okay, our time's running out. We got to vote right this minute. He's like, everyone here in favor of getting rid of player 125, raise your hand. He's like, that's 6. It's settled. And timid guy like sniffles and his breath trembles. VIPs are watching. VIP 4 is like, whoa, wait a second. Looks like they're switching up the order. Timid guy like backs up and mumbles. He's like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Now there's like 4 minutes, 47 seconds left. 100's like, yeah, I hear that. You're sorry. So go on, just let go. Timid guy's like, sir, forgive me. I was so scared. I thought I was going to die. So I didn't know it'd turn out like this. While he's pleading, 353 is like, we all talked and we came to a democratic decision. And he's trying to push like the guilt on, like, it's like, we didn't decide it. It was the vote that decided it, right? He's like, I'm sorry, but we need you to die now. And he lets out a scream that catches him off guard. He's like, go to hell. And they like take a step back. Because it's like, timid guy, where does this scream come from? He's like, what did I do? That's so wrong. What the hell did I do? I was just trying to do good. I didn't know it would be like this. 203 is like, enough of this. Just push him off the edge. So 203 is like a big jerky guy. But it's like, why don't you do it then, dude? Someone's like, but who? Because who's going to push him off? 100 tells 203, he's like, you push a guy. There's 351 left. And 203 is like, me? And then you're like, go on then. And he's like, wait a minute. Say the kid grabs me as he falls, huh? And 353 is like, what are you trying to pull? Someone's got to push him. So, who's going to push the guy? The VIP 3 is like, it won't be easy to eliminate player 125 if he keeps resisting. There's 2 minutes, 30 seconds left. 100 yells. He's like, our time is running out. If we don't push him right now, then we're all dead. 333 looks at the pole. So he's able to pull it out, like take the pole out. And he makes eye contact with 456 for a second. And then he's like, move. He's holding it like a lance. Timid guy is like, he asks, he's like, what is it? And he's like, what did I do wrong? And he's like, every single time. Why does it end up being me? Why? And 333 is like, I'm sorry. He's like, I don't want to do this either. He's like, why is everyone against me always? Then he hears Say Me's voice. So that's player 380. She's a girl that was like nice to him. That I don't know if he had a crush on her or whatever. And he like watched her die because he was too scared. Like on the top bunk, he didn't do anything. So she was kind of in Thanos' group with him and Thanos' friend. So timid guy like gasps, and he sees her like walking towards him, and he cries. He's like, "Say me." He's like, I'm sorry, say me." And she's like, "Let's go." And she holds out her hand. He like sobs, and he lifts his hand to hers. But when he lifts his hand, 333 like thrusts a pole. So timid guy takes. It's like he's reaching for her hand, but he really like grabs the pole in his hand, and he goes flying back off the block. And then we see him on the bottom with blood. Player 125 eliminated. So 203 and 100, they're like, oh, good job with the pole. Very nice work. But it's like he literally just killed a guy and they're saying nice work. Then the timer beeps. The first round of the final game has ended. So 3 masked guards are in the speedboat. They're tracking sick girl's dad. So they're about to catch up with them. 11, guard 11 is in pain from getting stabbed. She like staggers. She opens a door like in the hallway and she like whoops up her rifle. There's like some masked statues of the season 1 player 1 and his like suited, like he's wearing a suit and like with the big mask that he had. She tries the door across the hall, locked. So she shoots the lock. Rifle's ready. There's another door in the back and there's like stairs that lead down. There's a metal padlock door. She shoots that lock too. And she's like in the big like records room, the archive, whatever. At the yellow square tower, a platform like slides out to the middle, like makes a bridge. All players, please proceed to the next round. VIP 5's like, and now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for 222 and 456 to be eliminated. The lady VIP is like, they'll have to be separated. The 2 of them first. VIP 3 is like, well, that won't be easy since 456 is a total lunatic. And frontman, he's just like watching closely. 456 and 222 go last. The 5 guys stand like in a line on a triangle, and as soon as he steps on, the platform like slides back to the yellow. Please press the button at the center of the pillar to begin the second round. 100 takes a deep breath and is about to step on it, but 333 stops him. He's like, wait. He whispers. He's like, not until we can separate those 2. And Stupid 100 is like, all right then. It's like, we made it onto the second tower. But absolutely no thanks to him. He's like, we just need to pick who's going to go next. 336 is like, I nominated player 222. 100 is like, anyone object? And someone's like, I don't object. Neither do I. 203 is like, okay then, 222 it is. They look at 333. And he's like, so 333, it's his kid. He's like, I agree as well. And 100 is like, all right, that's 6 votes out of 8. That means that's a fair and democratic vote. The majority has come to the decision that player 222 is the next to go. 336 is like, look, I know how you feel. No one wants that little kid to die in here. I'm a parent. I got 2 of my own. And 100 is like, sir, look, we all feel bad. We do. We're human beings just like you. And then 39 is like, and its mother's gone. Don't you think it'd be right if we just, ended its life now painlessly? 353 takes the pole out the pole. And he's like, look, no need to do anything here. Just hang it on this pole and we'll do the rest. We'll send it off to a better place. It's like, come on. You don't have to watch when it happens. Just give me the baby or else I'll have to push you both off. 456 like foot is right on the edge, like the corner. And he's like, yeah. And what will you do if you kill me and the kid? You got to pick another one to die next round and say that's what happens. Will you all draw lots? Or maybe, he looks at 353, they'll simply pick the easier target. And the second round has now begun. 203 stepped on it. You have 15 minutes to play the second round. And someone's like, hey, what the hell? We were just trying to talk. And he's like, who gives a poop anymore? Come on, guys. If he won't drop the kid, we'll just push them both off. 456 like stands his ground and stares at 353. He's like, go on, do it if you can. Keep in mind, You could be the one they choose in the next round. I can see them now behind you, plotting what to do next. 203 says that they can just push him next. And so it's like you can hear them talking. He's like, you mean after, right? He's like, and the other guy's like, how's that not clear? They're like, so we're pushing the guy? And 203 is like, why are you waiting? Push them both off the edge. 353 gets ready, but then he brings a pole back to the group. And 203 is like, what are you doing? He's like, let me just think for a minute. And so they're like, more thinking? He's like, give me that thing. He's like, I'll do it if you can't. 353 won't let go. He's like, what do I keep telling you? If we decide to kill them both, it means one of us is going to die next round. So stop acting like an idiot and let me think about this. And he's like, I'm an idiot? He's like, SOB. He's like, you want me to push you instead? There's a struggle. 100 tries like breaking up. He's like, we can't waste time fighting each other. 203 is like, he's bluffing. If we actually try to push him off for real, he'll fold. He'll give up the kid. I'm telling you. And someone's like, yeah. And how do we know that for sure? And 333 is like, I have an idea. And they all stare at him. Meanwhile, Levin's looking through different boxes of the archive files. She finds the right one. She's flipping through the pages. She finds it. After wife's death, raised daughter alone. Daughter treated for blood cancer at whatever university hospital. Meanwhile, the father's still in the speedboat. Then a bullet just misses his head. Hits like the front, like right above the windshield. The guards have caught up. Two of them are shooting, and it's still kind of foggy. So one guard says, like, aim for the motor. They shoot, they hit it. So now there's like smoke coming out of the motor. The guard tells him, he's like, take us alongside. So they're still shooting. The dad is like ducked down. There's a rifle in his boat, so he starts like shooting back. He manages to hit one of the guards, but then he's out of ammo, I think, and he's still in pain. On the triangle, the 6 dudes do rock, paper, scissors. I'm not sure how you play with 6, unless it's like, because they're rock, paper, scissors, rock, and they keep doing it a few times. Then it comes down to like 353 and 100. So 100, he lets out a big laugh when he wins. And he's like, yeah. But again, he's just Lux. He's like laughs triumphantly. I can't stand this guy. So then they take their jackets off. 203 like asks for jackets. So it's like, wait, what are you going to do with the jackets? The guard's boat slowly approaches Dad's boats. Are like aiming the rifle, but it looks like Dad's dead. He's like slumped to the side, and the guard's like, player 246 eliminated. But then he gets shot by someone. The boat like pilot picks up the rifle and like shoots into the fog, but then he gets shot. So it's like, what's going on? Dad peeks over the edge. June and Kim have their rifles like aimed at him. But it's like, how does he's like, don't shoot me. I'm wearing a guard uniform. I'm not one of them. Unless they figure they need one person to talk, or which would be the smart thing. They're like, okay, where's the island? Because if they shoot him, then they got to figure it out. On the triangle, 336 ties a jacket around his waist. He tells the others, like, don't you dare let go of me. 333 is like, if you can't get a hold of the baby now, just pull them both here to the center. It'll be easier to separate them. So once we have the kid, I'll come up and I'll push 456 with the pole. And stupid 100 is like, I like this plan. I told you this young man had a good head. And the other guy's like, remember, there's no room for error. 336 approaches 456. The other 4s are holding onto the jacket, like tied like a rope. And 333 like holds out the pole. So 336, he's like, oh, this jacket's just a safety measure. He's like, we had a little chat. We figured out what to do. He's like, I think, sir, you'll like our plan. He's like, what is it? And he's like, everyone will draw lots now for the next round and the final round too. We'll select one player each time to get eliminated. And stupid 100 holds up some strips of cloth or something like that. He's like, see, we already got the lots. He's like, whoever gets the shortest strip gets thrown off. And jerky guy 203, he's like, and if you're worried, you can pick the drawing order, okay? And 456 like, and the kid? And they're like, oh, don't worry. You'll draw one for the kid too. It's all fair and square. And 456 like slowly nods. They're like, okay, great. We need you to join us. So we'll be able to all draw the lots. He's like, not a chance. Bring the lots here. And he's like, why? 100's like, you think we'd lie to you? And he's like, yeah, I do. Now bring the lots. I'll draw mine here. 336 like chuckles nervously. He looks back at the others. He's like, could you bring the lots over here? 100's like, okay. Just a minute. I'll just count them again to be sure. 456 watches suspiciously. Then 336 lunges. He grabs 456 midsection. 456 pulls out the blade from his back, and they like struggle. The others like are holding the jackets like tightly. 456 easily cuts the jacket, and the 4 players fall back. And 39's like he like falls on his back, and his head's like right by the edge, and he gulps. And 336 like sees the blade. He releases his grip. 456 gets 336 back to the edge. He's like, please don't kill me. They forced me to do it. They said they'd kill me first if I didn't push you. I'm begging you, sir. The others are still like sitting there watching. Are they scheming? 333 is still standing with the pole, and he's directly behind like 456. 203 is like, just fudging do it. 333 is like, out of the way. And he shoves 336 over. The others sit and stare at him. Player 336 eliminated. 333 looks at 456. 456 is like holding up the blade, and 333 is like, I'm with you. But it's like, did he say that so the others could hear? He did. Because the other's like, that little poop. And 39's like, oh no. A VIP's like, whoa, their pack did not last long. VIP one's like, promises and packs never do. So then we get a shot of dead 336. There's 8 minutes, 20 seconds left on the clock. The four have their hands up in defense. 333, he has the pole. 456 has a blade. 100's like, guys, come on, let's all calm down. One person just died, so we all get to keep playing. We can't start fighting now. We just need to decide who to eliminate next. 203's like, listen, there's only one last round, okay? Don't be an idiot and start waving that knife around. Let's think about the solution, you two. 353 is like, since this is the last round, I think everyone should actually draw lots. Is that all good with you? 100's like, look, I have the strips of cloth right here. 353 is like, if you're in favor of drawing lots, raise your hand. All four raises theirs, and Stupid 100's like, that's 4 out of 7 in favor. This side, 1 to vote. That means we all draw lots to pick, so nobody gets an edge, okay? It's like, are we all on the same page? 333 is like, no way. He's like, there's 4 of you, but there's only 2 of us. You could betray us at any point. 100's like, betray you? Are you accusing us? You bastard, you betrayed us. And 203 yells. He's like, the only reason we tried to take the baby is because you told us to. Someone, like, I forget who it was, someone's like, that's right. The whole plan was your idea. And 100 says to 456, like, you hear that? You believe a word that greedy brat says? 333 says to him, he's like, I was only trying to save the child, okay? Because and he turns to 456, I'm the father. And the drunk VIP guy, he's like, wow, I mean, who saw that coming? 333 is the father? That means you have the father, the mother, and the baby all in the same game. Another VIP mentions like, well, don't forget, we also had Granny and the son in the last round. VIP 2 is like, it's like watching one of those family reality shows. Another VIP is like, I still think bringing 456 back to join the game was the best idea of all. 100 scoffs. He's like, really? That baby is yours? And 39 is like, no, but there's no way. 203 is like, but you were just saying we should kill the kid. And 353 is like, sir, you don't really believe anything he's saying, do you? 333 is like, why else would I have pushed the other guy off the edge? And 456 is like, why'd you wait to say anything? And 333 is like, I wanted to leave here with Junhee and our kid. She didn't trust me at the end, though. And 456 thinks back to during the jump rope game when she was sitting on the bench and he saw them talking. So 333 is like, we're the only ones with weapon. If you and I team up, we can do anything. They can't hurt us both. We can choose who to eliminate next round. I promise you, that child is the only thing I care about. 203 is like, hey, it's okay. Come on, come here. And 39 is like, wait, what? Why? What are you doing? And then they've grabbed 39. 203 is like, come on, hold him. And 203 is like, starts punching him in the face a few times. And then in the gut, he goes down. They start kicking him. 100 is like, okay, everyone, check it out. He's like, I just found us a solution to the next game. We'll pack us a lunchbox. First, we beat him half to death. Then we drag him over to the circle, hit the button, and then we go and we toss him off the edge. Game over. And then us 5, 6, including the baby. The 6 of us get our share and get out of here. 7.6 billion, which is like 5.5 million USD. How's that sound? I'd say pretty good. And the VIP is like, lunchbox? What a genius idea. And I was like, what does that even mean? So like packing a lunch, whatever. I even looked it up, like what does lunchbox mean? And what I saw, like what Google said, is that there's something, a distinction, like those who could pack lunch could afford to have like a nice fancy lunch because they're like in these little kits. But 39 grunts and crawls. He's like, help me, please help me, sir. He gets another kick to the face that pretty almost like knocks him out. 203 tells the guy, he's like, grab his leg. He grabs it and he like stomps on it and breaks it. 203, he's back away. He screams in pain. He's like kind of shaking now, like convulsing. Where 203 is like, there, our lunchbox all ready to go, and he laughs. So they're just so despicable. He's like, no, all we need to do is carry it over there, huh? But then what I was thinking is like, what if there's no planking the next time? What if it's like a rope, like a 2 rope thing, a rope ladder or whatever? But then his smile falls when he sees 456 is like holding the blade out. 100 asks like, "Do we do something wrong?" 456 looks at the nearly like unconscious 39. He's like, "This isn't the right way." And 203 is like, "What the hell? What do you suggest?" He's like, "We will still draw lots, just like you said. Nobody has an edge, all except the child." I feel like, okay, why? But I mean, 203 is like, "Holy spit, come on, are you for real?" And 253 is like, "We could end the game right here." It's like, "Why the hell are you doing this to us?" 100 is like, "Come on, 333, this man's a menace. He's going to turn on you. You can't side with that lunatic." 203 grabs a blade, and then 333 grabs 353, tries grabbing the pole away. 100 is just standing around. And we see the baby's like loose on still in the jacket, like on the ground. 203 and 456 are struggling like next to the baby and with the blade. 353 manages to kick 333's legs out. He goes to his knees. 203 is like trying to get the blade away. He gets it up and tries jabbing it at 456. They end up on like they're like on rolling on the ground on the top of the platform. 356 like grabs 203's hair and like punches him. They get separated. 353 meanwhile punches. So now they're both holding like the pole in the center, and they're like struggling with the pole. So 353 punches 333. 100 still standing around. 333 like falls back with the pole. He's like by the edge, and 203 keeps like stabbing at 456, like trying to get him. He lunges, and then the blade goes into. He lunges at him with the blade, but then somehow got twisted, and the blade goes into 203. So 353, is like back at 333, grabbing a pole, but then somehow they get twisted, and now 353, I hope this makes sense, and now 353 is like leaning back over the edge, holding onto the pole, and he yells, he's like, "Wait," he says, 333, he's like, "Don't do it." And if 333 kicks him, he flies back. 203, meanwhile, still on top of 456, mouth's open in pain, and 456 just like grabs the back of his to keep him on top so that he can't pull away like from the blade, because if he's stabbed, he could still be a problem, but he just like holds on. The baby's crying, so I'm like, wait, who has the baby? 456 finally shoves off 203. He rolls over, goes to the baby, but I was so sure 100 is gonna like pick her up or something like that to try to save his butt. 333 turns a pole towards 100. He backs up a couple steps, and he's like, "Nice work." He's like, "Well done, you two." It's like this was all planned. There's 124 left on the clock. He's like, "It's amazing watching you. Those dirty, rotten a-holes, they should have died a long time ago. There's only 5 of us, left, right?" He's like, "Okay, so let's see. Oh, the lunchbox. If we just drag him over there now and throw him off the next round, then the 3 of us," he's like, "Oh, right, the baby. Then 4, let's see. We'd get 11.4 billion, which is 8.2 million USD. He's like, "Then that way we'd all get a happy ending, right? Sound good?" 333 still standing in front of him, slowly moving towards him. He's like, "What's up? Is that so low? That's fine. 10 billion won. That's all I need. I'll give you the rest of it, okay? 1.4 billion. 456 just like watching, and 100's like, "Then you can share it between yourself. It's all yours, okay?" 333's like, "We'll get 15.2 if I push you off." And he jabs into his gut, pushes, and lets go. Ah! Player 100 eliminated. And 456 is just like looking at him confused. The second round of the game has ended. And 39, who's all like beat up and broken leg, he crawls to the edge. He sits up. He looks at the two. He's like, "I'm sorry, but I really don't want to be your lunchbox." And 333 is like, "Wait a minute." He's like, "Stop. It's okay. It's okay. We weren't thinking like that. Right, sir?" He's like, "So just stay right where you are." It's like, "Let's talk about it." 39 like sobs. He's like, "You guys can talk to each other all you want. I'm done with this." And then he pushes himself over the edge. 333 is like, "No." And then player 39 eliminated. 333 looks at him. He like stands. He turns. He looks at 456. So now it's 456, the baby, and 333. And that's the end of the episode. So the plan didn't quite... So even though 100 was a complete scumbag, it's like he shouldn't have killed him just yet. Because 333 must have been counting on 39 to use him as a lunchbox, whatever that means. But now, I don't know. And I can't watch it right away. I don't have the time to like just stop and watch it. It's just too much to do before then. But I'm so curious about this last episode, and that's why I'm enjoying this, because this is crazy. Oh, there you go. One more left. All right, Dexter Resurrection, season 1, episode 3, backseat driver. So again, I'm like an episode and a half, a week and a half behind or whatever. I'm just going to jump to it. Dexter's driving someone as a Euro driver. The bro in there, he's like, oh, you have a charger? And Dexter's like, no. Because the dude says he's late for a date. He's like, I matched with a hot chick on Hinge. He's like, she's a Nick City dancer. He's like, asks Dexter, he's like, go check it out. Shows her a pic, like on his phone. And Dexter's like, he's driving. He's like, yep, hot. And then the guy's like, I'm thirsty. Can I get some water? And Dexter's like, you want me to stop at a bodega? And the dude, the bro, he's like, nah, man. He's like, I'm late. He's like, you don't have any bottles of water in here? And Dexter's like, am I supposed to? Because, Dexter doesn't know, like, these are things. And it's so crazy. I don't go in, like, Ubers or whatever, Lyfts or anything often. But the time when you see, there's been times where I've, like, rented a limo because it's, like, cheaper, whatever. And, when you see the water and stuff like that, I never take it. Because one, cheapo me, I'm like, am I going to get charged for this? And maybe it's complimentary, but it seems weird. And it's like, why should you expect? It's like, bring your own stuff. So he pulls over, and Dexter's like, good luck with that. He shuts the door on him. Date. And then he narrates, he's like, rideshare driving. Not the worst job in the world. Great way to get to know the city. He sees a traffic camera. Also, makes for a good cover story when it's time to stalk. Later, he parks, his phone chimes. He's like, 3 out of 5, not bad. But then phone chimes again. Warning, low driver rating. He's like, poop. Over security camera, Blessing calls out, Dexter, my friend, what's the matter? So he sees him. He's like, he's listening. Is he just watching the camera? And then Dexter is like, friend. It's like trying to avoid those. He like waves, to the camera. It's like, especially ones on security cameras. He's like, just got an alert from your car. It says I have a rating of 4.2. 0.2? And the door opens. If it dips any lower, your account will be deactivated. You must be done driving for the night. He's like, don't take another fare until I can help you solve this terrible situation. And Dexter's like, okay. And then he gets a call from Veterinary RX Inc. He's like, I got to take this. And Blessing's like, okay, I got you. And Dexter like, awesome. He's like, 4.2? My goodness. Inside, Dexter answers the phone like on speaker. And he's like, hello. And the guy's like, hi, is this Dr. Bateman? And he's like, Patrick Bateman. American Psycho was a formative read when I was 19. And he's like, this is he. Then like Veterinary RX calling to confirm an expedited order of, I think it was entropine. And Dexter's like, M99 to knock out the dark passenger and whoever else is a guest at my table. But it's weird. He calls him dark passenger. He's like, I refuse to call him that. And on the phone, he's like, yes, to the P.O. box, please. And then the guy on the phone's like, it's been a while since your last order. Trading in the Florida sunshine for life in the Big Apple? And Dexter's like, if I can't make it here. And the guy's like, glad to have you back, doctor. And Dexter's like, it's glad to be back. And he thinks the doctor is in. At the hotel, Detective Wallace shows Harrison a photo and asks if he recognizes this man. He's like, it's a guy who died, right? And she's like, murdered. It's like, what were your interactions with him? And Harrison's like, he was a big tipper, so everyone wanted to help him out. And then it's just so annoying, the detective, Wallace, she's like, everybody or just you? He seemed to have taken a special liking to you, correct? He's like, I guess. He just asked me to run a bunch of errands for him. And she's like, errands? What sort of errands? And he's like, usual stuff. Shine his shoes, pick up dry cleaning. He did have me buy him weed once. And she's like, so aside from procuring drugs, was there any other moment during his stay that stood out as memorable? And there's a flashback when he busts into the room and asking Shauna if she's okay, and she's lying in a daze on the bed. He shakes his head. He's like, no. And she's like, this is in-house CCTV from the night of Mr. Foster's murder. And it's footage from the bar with Shauna. Do you recognize this woman? And he's like, yes, Ryan, Mr. Foster called her his wife. And she's like, she is not his wife. That woman is a guest at the hotel with her own room. But I'm glad to know that this is memorable. What is he saying to you here? And we see the video of them in the lobby. He's saying his wife is too drunk. He needs help with the elevator. And she's like, did you find it strange that she could not stand on her own? And Harrison's like, I mean, he said she was drunk. And Wallace is like, not drunk, drugged. We found Rohypnol in Mr. Foster's luggage. Did you procure that for him too? And Harrison scoffs. He's like, what? It's like, no way. And she's like, are you sure? Because you do not seem concerned in this video. And then in the elevator, she's like, you're not concerned that this clearly drugged woman is being taken upstairs by a strange man. And he's like, look, I only know what he told me. I can't tell the difference between drunk and drugged. And she's like, what happened after this moment? He's like, I helped them to his room, opened the door, and they went inside. Did you go in with them? He scoffs. He's like, no, because this is the last time we see Mr. Foster alive, before his body parts ended up on a garbage dock. And she closes the laptop. So they enter his room. What next? And he's like, I went downstairs in the elevator, in the service elevator. Employees aren't supposed to use the main elevators without a guest. My shift was over, so I went home. Where is home? I went to a bar. And she frowns because he's changing story. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm under 21. I didn't want to admit that. I met a girl there and spent the night with her. What is her name? Judy? We didn't really exchange info, you know? Well, I suggest finding out her name because she is your alibi. Alibi? Am I a suspect? You are not a suspect. While I am still gathering evidence, send me your date's name and contact information, if you find it. And she gives him like her business card. He sits and looks at it, and she's like dismissing. She's like, we are done. So she's like, get out of here. He gets up, opens the door. Olive is like standing right there. Harrison walks past him. And he's like, well? And she's like, let us find every piece of surveillance we can find on Mr. Morgan. Blessing and his daughter Joy are like arguing. Dexter walks in. He apologizes. He's like, oh, I could come back. Blessing's like, no, come in. He's like, we're sitting down to dinner. And Dexter's like, no, it's fine. We can talk about my rating another time. And Blessing it's like, no, sit. His wife's like, sounds like we have much to discuss. And Blessing's mom like wants him to, she's like, take a taste of her cassava stew or something like that. And she's holding out like a spoon to him. And she like practically shoves it in his face. He's like, whoa. It's like, that is really good. So he sits, and Blessing's like, let's pray. So he holds out the hand to Dexter. He's like, praying, not my strong suit. So Blessing asks the Lord to bless their food and his family and the wonderful guests that he brings into their lives, because Joy's fiance is there too. Please bring us the wisdom to make the right decisions. And he's like, so Dexter, Joy was about to explain to us why she insists on moving away from us for a second time. She's like, it's grad school, and Sam deserves to choose whatever school he wants. Sam's like, I'm trying for my MBA. Cross my fingers for Berkeley. And Blessing's like, which is in California. Blessing's mom, Constance, is like, let them be. Just because you never moved out of the house does not mean that they can't. And then his wife, Prudence, is like, a move like that is a big decision. And she asks Dexter, why did you move from Miami? And he's like, Miami? He's like, how do you know that? And she's like, oh, I run background checks on all my tenants. But it's like, how many tenants have they had? Because I thought Joy just moved out. And Blessing's like, honey. And she's like, what? There's a 10-year gap in his history, and I want to know who's living here. Dexter thinks he's like, I'm being vetted? And he's like, yeah, I lived in Miami most of my life, but years ago, I lost some people very close to me, so I went away for a while to get a fresh start. Blessing's like, and now you're an immigrant in New York, just like us. He's like, I'll fix everything you need tomorrow. We'll make sure your car is the highest rated your car in the city. Joy's like, I wish you were this enthusiastic about my business. And Blessing's like, Dexter, did you know you are sitting next to, and he gets up out of his chair, the most talented acupuncturist in the entire world. And he gives her like a hug. Dexter's like, what would Harrison have been like if he had a father like that? He's like, I should go. It's been a long day. Constance's like, but there's dessert. Dexter asks Prudence if he could get a copy of that background check. And she's like, of course. And she's like, he says that he's just curious what it says. And she's like, with this website and $75, like, I can find anything. He flips the pages. He's like, credit union addresses, employment, etc. And he thinks, if it can find me, can it find the dark passenger? At his laptop, he's like searching Ronald Schmidt. He gets a list, list names pop up. He's like, getting warmer. Finds one under Bridge Data Network, 45 files. He's like, this could be him. Finds current address, apartment in Brooklyn, no criminal records reported, 45 years old. And he thinks, he's like, Ronald can hide from cameras, but not from the banks. Next day, he sits in his car eating, like waiting. He's like, Good morning, Ronald. No hoodie. Must not be on the hunt. But I am. So he goes into the apartment building because the dude just left. He looks around. He's happy that there's no cameras there. He's like, we share a dislike of being watched. Takes out lockpick tools. Picking a lock is like riding a bike. But then unfortunately he sees there's a keypad lock. Harder to do after 50. Still, I like the old ways. He kneels down like Brie, and he can see the like kind of oily fingerprints, whatever. He's like 0128. And he's like, Red's birthday, October 28th. So he tries 1028. And he's wearing gloves. It beeps Red. He's like, Red's a clever guy. Let's try his birthday again. Only this time backwards. So he goes 8201. It beeps green. So much for clever, Mr. Red. He goes inside, takes off his backpack size, like the pain in his body. Asks Harry, how did he do old? Because he swears he used to bounce back quicker than this. Harry says, he's like, you mean before the 10-week coma? And Dexter's like, just tell me this isn't permanent. He's like, I wouldn't know, son. I never got to do old for very long. Age itself is a privilege. Dexter scoffs. He's like, now find proof. If I were Ronald, where would I hide my trophies? He looks at the air conditioner. Harry's like, nah, it's like too coincidental. So it turns out this is the place that Uma Thurman went to. Because then he sees the squares on a carpet. And Dexter thinks, he's like, I read in the paper that the victims were missing their driver's licenses. And he sees the crates. He's like, you think? And Harry's like, same size. So Dexter picks up a crate. And then he says to Harry, he's like, this feels like when I was 15. You'd set up training scenarios like this. You'd hide some clue. Harry's like, you'd find it every time. Fun days. Just you and me. So he places the crates, and then he steps up. And he kind of grunts a bit when he reaches up. He moves the ceiling tile, reaches. He cuts his wrist on the edge, but he like wipes the blood. But there's still blood on the edge of the ceiling. I don't think it matters. He finds a folder with the licenses. He's like, here's the culprit. He finds like the wire. He's like, murder weapon. Opens a folder. Harry's like, I hate trophies. And Dexter's like, each one is a good reason to take him out. This would actually make a good kill room. He's like, thick walls, quiet. He like sits inside. He's like, I used to live like this. Sparse. No attachment. Kind of like now. And Harry's like, except now you have a son. At his desk, he looks around. He calls Bridge Data Network. Emily answers. He's like, yeah, hi. A friend of mine recommended your company. Said one of your employees was a huge help in setting up their IT. Ronald Schmidt? And she's like, yes, Red. He's very thorough. Can Red come by and see us tomorrow? She's like, let me check his schedule. He'll be at Rockefeller Center, which is accessible from anywhere. And Dexter's like, let me talk to my boss and see if that works. He's like, thank you. And then he's like, tomorrow night, I know where to pick him up. And he sees like a hoodie on a hook, and he looks at it. He sees like the little infrared things, whatever. This is how he blinds camera. Kill you soon, Red. So then we see Angel's back on Hell, Batista. He's back in Miami. He has like some bullet bourbon whiskey. Teddy calls him, and he says that he got a hit, Jim's truck. And he's like, Dexter Morgan's truck. And Angel's like, where? And he's like, New York City. Truck matches the license plate. Got a speeding ticket. He's like, I can fax a report to you. And he's like, no, just give me the name and address of the driver. But it seems dumb because if he just got a speeding ticket, if it was Dexter, why would he assume that he has a new address already? Because he could be staying in a motel. And maybe he still has his iron, whatever, old license. Then it cuts to Blessing's place where Dexter's staying. Blessing is giving Dexter tips, says he must always stay 2 steps ahead of the passengers, anticipate every need. He opens this little case of things. There's 4 bottles of water, mints, napkins, gum, handy wipes, lighters, tissues, hand sanitizer, snacks, whatever. And Dexter's like, am I driving a car or a bodega? And Blessing's like, yes. And then Dexter notices there's condoms in there. And Blessing's like, you'd be surprised how many people ask. Dexter's like, anticipate every need. Dexter pulls out a little frame of a kid. And he's like, what need is this for? And Blessing's like, the tips. People like a family man. Makes them feel safe. Just swap out that picture. Put one of your son inside. And Dexter's like, I lost my family photos in a fire. He's like, no. He gives Dexter a hug. And Dexter's like, hugs, I guess we're there. He's like, this is a terrible tragedy. And then that kind of hurt Dexter's chest. He's like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. Just old wounds. Well, you should let Joy do her acupuncture on you. She still needs some practice hours. And Dexter's like, yeah, I'll try anything at this point. Well, then you should try putting that up on your dash. Let passengers think it's your son. It's more a liable mission than commission. The good Lord won't mind. And Dexter's like, the least of my sins. But you must tell me how the passengers think about this new improvements. He's like, come, I have work to do outside. And he's like, city rats always trying to move around in the dryer exhaust. This will stop them. And he has like this roll of thin metal strips or something like that. At first I thought it was like tape, but it's actually like sheets, little metal strips or whatever, like a roll of metal. Wallace looks at the elevator footage again. Stefan says to Oliva, it's like, so once again, we're here at the perfectly clean bathroom. Wallace gets off the phone. Shauna's rape kit came back negative, but they did find traces of rohypnol in her system. And Stefan's like, what does that mean? And Wallace is like, it means either a serial rapist drugged a woman, then suddenly had a change of heart, or we have a hero on our hands who stopped it from happening here in this room. And he's like, here? That's not possible. And she's like, it is the only way the assault could have been stopped in enough time. What likely did not occur here is a dismemberment. Cutting up a body into 9 pieces is difficult, grueling work. Chopping, sawing, yet this bathtub is pristine. Stefan's like, once again, you're saying this bathroom is too clean? Wallace takes off her coat, and Oliva says he must have taken the body elsewhere to do his dirty work. She's like, but he need not have taken it far. I'm going for a walk. So Oliva hands her headphones. So I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. She puts them on. She puts on Staying Alive by the Bee Gees again, walks out in the hall. And Stefan's like, where's she going? And then she's walking out, and she yells, stop, at a room service cart. Like perfect timing. There's like someone's getting room service. She looks underneath, and we see a flashback of Harrison like shoving a body in there under the curtain. She continues walking, barely says a word to the server. It's like she's just so rude. Goes into service elevator. We get a flashback of Harrison with Shauna, and then loudly to Oliva, no key required and no cameras. But again, it's just stupid because if she uses these headphones all the time, and if she is such a super genius and highly aware of her surroundings, of everything, she would notice she's yelling over the music. They arrive in the kitchen level, and she's like, what time does a kitchen close? Stefan's like, 1 a.m. And she's like, what? So take off your stupid headphones. So Oliva holds up like one finger. She watches dudes like chopping meat. Then, of course, she decides to look up at the ceiling where Harrison splattered. Of course, she thinks that ceiling is clean. And then she looks at the floor drain. Flashback to Harrison like squeegeeing all the blood. And then Harrison walks in and sees them. He kind of ducks back, peeks around a corner, like behind a shelf. A guy comes with garbage bags and takes one from the trash that's like close to them, like a trash can. She yells at him. She's like, hey. And she's like, same bag, the knots. The knots are... And she finally takes off the stupid headphones. She's like, the knots are tied differently. Then the worker's like, can I go now? And he takes the bags out to the sidewalk. He turns around. She's right there with Oliva and Stefan. And she asks the worker, how often is that door left open? He like kind of stares at her. She's like, I am a homicide detective, not a health inspector. The guy's like, all day, just makes life easier. And he leaves. She's like, so the premises are not entirely secure. And Wallace like, an outsider could have snuck in and did the murder. She's like, you should, to Stefan, she's like, you should invest in anti-roosting spikes over that camera. Keeps away the pigeons. And I guess the camera's like, I'm like, look, I had to rewind. It's like, where's the camera? I guess it's like covered in poop. Dexter's lying on a table. He's like, I'll never get used to this angle. Joy sees a bullet wound on his chest. She's like, ex-girlfriend? He's like, estranged son. But he thinks that. He's like, hunting accident. It still feels like the muscles are ripping apart. She's like, you good with needles? He's like, yes. And she like sticks one in. And he's like, how does this help exactly? She's like, the needles release blockers in your chi so your life force can flow more freely. See? And he's like, sorry, it's just a little And she's like, too woo-woo? It's like, my parents would agree with you. So how are you liking my old place? He's like, it's cozy. And she's like, you know what they say about old houses? He's like, filled with ghosts? And she's like, no, secrets. Right over there, that bookshelf is an old coal chute where I used to hide my pot. And he's like, ooh, I bet you're glad to finally be out. She's like, not as much as my dad likes to think. He makes it sound like I'm so desperate to run away. And he's like, well, you have a new life now with Sam. And she's like, that doesn't mean I won't miss my dad. It's like, I can be 3,000 miles away and I still want to see him. And Dexter's like, even when he gets on your nerves? And then he thinks, or tells you to shoot him in the chest. She's like, even when I absolutely just want to strangle him, I'll always love my dad. I think he forgets that. And Dexter thinks, maybe I have too. She sticks a needle in his forehead. She's like, okay, you want to take it easy for the rest of the day. How's it feel? He inhales deeply. He's like, better. Dexter follows Harrison. He goes like into like, at first I thought it was a bar, but I think it's like a diner or some restaurant. Harry's like, this would be as good a time as any. He's alone, away from work. And he's like, what if the police arrested him tomorrow and you never made contact? Dexter's like, if the police are onto him, he wouldn't be walking around free. That's not true. Harry's like, that's not the point. A boy needs his father. He needs someone. Dexter starts crossing the street, then stops. And Harry's like, what's wrong? He's like, he's on a date. And Harry's like, a girlfriend is a good reason not to see your son. And Dexter's like, you want me to blow up his night with an appearance from zombie dad? He thinks I'm dead. He likes her. Because he like looks at her, he sees like the smile on his face. He's like, you're right. Harrison does need someone, but it doesn't have to be me. He walks away. Inside the place, Harrison and Elsa are talking about work and stuff on. And she asks, how is he? He thanks her for coming out. And he's like, with all the stuff with the cops at the hotel, he's like, I just think I needed to get out of there for a night and talk to a friendly face. She's like, I get it. It's disturbing. She's like, what happened to that Ryan guy was gruesome. Harrison's like, I can't stop seeing his face. And she's like, Harrison, he was a human being who you interacted with, and he died. Of course it's sad, but his murder is not your fault. Flashback to him slamming the toilet cover on him. He's like, you want to go somewhere? I kind of want to, move around. And he's like, you want to grab a beer? And he just gets up. I don't know I hope they were done eating. And she's like, you want to go back to my place? He's like, we can watch the new episode of Drag Race. And he's like, yeah. So they're having like a beer at her place watching TV. He's like, I never actually asked you, how long were you with Dante's father? And she's like, oh, you want to go there? And Harrison's like, well, no, he stammers. He's like, no. She's like, I was with him for almost one night. And he's like, okay. And she's like, still, he gave me the greatest gift I could ever ask for. I mean, I just love this kid, even when he's, being a little monster, because he's my little monster. Dexter's like, Harrison's like, that kid's as good as they get. And she's like, yeah. And she's looking at a picture on his phone. And then she's like, it's late because it's 1:25. And Harrison's like, right. So he starts, get up. She's like, so if you don't mind being awakened by that kid, you're welcome to stay on the couch if you want. He's like, yeah, thanks. But it's like, how does she afford this place with her job, a kid, taking classes? They go back, they just like sit back, finish drinking her beer. And then we see someone's like setting fancy plates, forks, napkins. Charlie's like, this is fine. We're going to need 6 of them arranged like this. The VIPs are numbered and their dietary restrictions are listed. There's like this packet of paper. She's like, please note that VIP number 5 is a vegan. The worker assistant like, are you sure you don't want any staff, to work it? Charlie's like, no, it's a private thing with special guests. Excited. I don't know if she's going to do the cooking because she's like, just make sure all the stuff's here. And she's like, write down the wine that she wants. Like one's like for 1888. The worker, she's like, the 1888 must be some special guest. And Charlie, Uma Thurman, she's like, you are paid and paid very well for your discretion. Is that understood? And the worker like, not. She's like, good. At the hotel, Harrison's at his locker. Wallace and Oliva barge in. Mr. Morgan. She's like, you never sent me the name of your one-night stand. And Elsa's like, sorry, I'm going to go clock in. And Harrison's like, I'm sorry, it just slipped my mind. Oliva's like, your alibi slipped your mind. And Wallace is like all frowny face. She's like, come with us. So she has him sitting in front of a monitor. She cues up like another video, like a bunch of different. She's like, after our last meeting, we scoured hours of footage from around the hotel to see what you did after you led Mr. Foster to his room on the night of his murder. Harrison's like, I don't see anything. And she's like, correct. There are 124 cameras in this building, and yet, after you are seen in the elevator arriving on the 11th floor that night, you do not appear on a single hotel security camera until 4:15 a.m. in the lobby of the day after the murder. And Oliva's like, you look a little worn out there, like you stayed up all night. And she's like, but not with a woman, as you would have us like to think, because to have picked up a girl at a bar, you would have to have left the hotel, and yet no camera catches you entering or leaving the premises at all whatsoever. But what about like the back exit by the kitchen? And Wallace says, or Oliva's like, so what'd you really do that night? And he's like, I don't know what you mean. And she's like, Mr. Morgan, I think you lied about leaving Mr. Foster's room. I think you did care about what was going to happen to that woman. And so you did the right thing. You went in and stopped him once and for all. Let me paint you a picture. You ask Mr. Foster what he is doing with that clearly drugged woman. He gets defensive and angry. And when you do not leave, he gets violent. And you do what anyone would do in that situation. You defend yourself for your safety and the safety of the woman. I imagine you got into a fight, you end up in the bathroom, and in a moment of desperation, you hit him with the porcelain lid of the toilet tank, killing him. Oliva's like, we found porcelain dust in the cranial wound of the victim. And she's like, now, I know this must have been a traumatic experience, such an extreme act of violence, but it all happened so fast, and you did not want to get in trouble, so now you have to clean it up. But first, you take Shauna, the young woman, back to her room, and Oliva's like using the service elevator. And she's like, and proceed to use what you can from the hotel to clean the room as thoroughly as possible. Oxygenated bleach, very smart. Then it was time for the body. Dismembering him was your only option, so you take him to the one place that proved the most convenient, the hotel kitchen. And Oliva's like, which closed at 1 a.m., but you know that. Wallace like, then it was a simple matter of chopping him up, bagging the body parts, and throwing them out with the garbage, a task no one would ever choose, but made sense for the situation you found yourself in. And he doesn't say anything. And she's like, Mr. Morgan, I have been told I'm not good at showing empathy, but I hope you know that I understand what happened. And Oliva's like, you tried to do the right thing. You saved a young woman from being raped. And if you cooperate with us, we can make sure that this whole thing goes from murder in the first degree to justifiable homicide. She's like, it's up to you. And then he's like, I have a confession to make. So Oliva takes out his phone, starts recording. Harrison's like, I never left the hotel that night because I live here. And Wallace has this big confused, I mean, they're both confused. And, Oliva's like, you live here? And he's like, I'm homeless. I stay in vacant rooms every night, just catching sleep where I can. My bosses don't know. That's why I lied about spending the night with the girl. I'm sorry. And Wallace like, can anyone corroborate your story? He's like, I don't want to get them in trouble. And she's like, they will not be. Enforcing Penal Code 140.05 is not my department. And Harrison doesn't know what that means. He looks at Wallace and he's like, trespassing. She's like, now is the time to give me your real alibi. Then it cuts to Dexter. He slowly gets dressed. And he puts on a turtleneck, but is like very slow. And he's like, no pain. All I needed was a few needles to feel just like myself again. Or maybe just one. So his knockout drug kit arrives. He's got the box, so he picked it up at some point. He's like, finally. And, so he's got the syringe. There's a bunch of little vials. He puts the syringe in. He's like, the last tool I need for the kill. And Harry's like, I'm not saying this is a bad idea. And Dexter's like, I appreciate the clarification. And Harry's like, the hunter sets a trap, son, but he shouldn't offer himself as bait. Dexter's like, I hear you on the risk. And he turns on the driving app. He's like, but I've anticipated all the X factors. So then Elsa's talking to the detective. She's like, he's got no place to stay, so I let him sleep in empty rooms. It's not like he's hurting anybody. And Wallace is like, does your boss know you do this? And she's like, no, are you going to tell him? And then Wallace is such a piece of crap. She's just like, we are done. Thank you. And she like walks away. Then Elsa's like, wait, Harrison is a good guy, okay? I don't help a-holes. And Wallace just leaves. And Oliva kind of sticks around for a second, gives her a look, and then he leaves. So it's like, is there like no way to like just say, okay, fine? Or in Miami, we see Batista sitting in a bar. He's looking at a bowling team picture on his phone. There's Dexter, some like bald guy, I think. I don't remember who that is. I'm totally blanking. Angel himself. And then Vince Masuka. But then like, was Quinn not there? Because then Quinn yells, he's like, the fudge angel? He's like, you're retiring? And so him and Masuka's like, yeah, you're old, but you're not that old. And Angel's like, word got out, huh? And Quinn's like, yeah. And Angel's like, man, I was going to tell you. And Quinn's like, yeah, you were going to tell me? When? Now? And Angel's like, sorry, man. It's just, I've had enough of homicide. After 30 years, I'm eligible for my pension, so I'm going to enjoy it. And Quinn's like, doing what? What are you going to do? Open another restaurant? Write a novel? Start a podcast? And Masuka's like, don't tell me you're going to start an OnlyFans account. I mean, I'll be supportive, but I ain't going to like it. And Angel's like, no, I'm going to do some traveling, and I got some personal poop to take care of. So it's like weird. It almost seems like this would have been before, because what I'm curious about is, so Dexter's ex called Angel when she thought that he was the Bay Area butcher. And then he gets shot. And then he's in a coma for 10 weeks. So how long was Angel? Did Angel fly up there and wait? Or did he wake up? Because he was there like kind of like right after he woke up. So he must have flew there. I don't know. But then Quinn's like, personal poop? You got to settle an old score? And Angel's like, look, you ever have that one thing you just can't let go? And he's like, yeah. And Eastern European stripper, which was a terrible idea. And Masuka's like, it wasn't that bad of an idea. And Quinn's like, come on, man. Talk to me. What the fudge is going on? And Angel's like, when it all goes down, believe me, you'll understand. But for now, the less you know, the better. And he's like, huh. He's like, well, at least, we at least get to have a drink in your honor, right? So Quinn orders 3 drinks, and Masuka makes a toast, whatever. And Angel's like, I love you guys. And he's like, come on. He gives them like a big group hug. Dexter's driving. He pulls over to the side. He's like, your driver has arrived. So he has his syringe ready. And he's like, Red should be finishing his last appointment. So he has the syringe needle in his hand. And then some stupid lady knocks on the door, startling him. And he like drops it. And she's like, are you here for Katie? And he's like, no, I'm here for Jerry, not Katie. And she's like, are you sure? Your car was supposed to be here 10 minutes ago. And he's like, looks down, glances where he dropped the needle. He's like, yeah, I'm sure. And then she just like shakes her head. And she's like, she can't believe, like she probably thinks he's lying. She's so annoying. So he tries reaching for the needle, but it's like between the seat and like the inside part, of the car or whatever, that one place where I probably dropped French fries or sometimes drop a pen or whatever. And then there's another knock, or like the door opens. He's like, you're here for Jerry, right? And he's like, yeah. The guy's like, let's get going. I'm in a hurry. So he's wearing, it's Red. It's the guy, Schmidt, whatever his name, what is his name, Ronald? He's like wearing his cap and hoodie. So Dexter looks at his phone at the app. He's like, I see you're going to JFK. And he's like, yeah. So he starts driving. And Dexter's like, you just get out of work? He's like, yeah. Some a-hole decided to reformat his company's server. Total waste of my time. So Dexter's trying to reach for like the syringe as he's driving. The guy's like, take the bridge. And Dexter's like, you sure? Tunnel's faster. I mean, I got a buddy who swears by the Cross Bronx Expressway, but me, I like to stick to the usual route. And then he's got the needle, but then he like drops it just as Red puts the the wire around his throat. He's like, we're not going to JFK. Keep both hands on the wheel and do exactly as I say. So at this point, I'm like, is there a reason that he put on a turtleneck? Because, the way he almost did it like slow motion, whatever. You see it like slide down over his face. But again, he was just recuperating or just relaxing after his acupuncture. So he has to raise his hand instead of grab the syringe. He almost had the syringe. And then the Red, the dark passenger, he's like, from here on out, your life is in my hands. Is that understood? And he like pulls the wire tighter. Dexter's like, the kill tables have turned, and I hate it. And he's like, yes. So then Red's like, how does it feel to know you will die? And Dexter's like, honestly, it's not the first time. He's like, what? And he yanks tighter. And Dexter's like, no sense of humor. Got it. And he says, I mean, I'm scared. And Red's like, uh-huh. He's like, tell me, who's going to miss you once you're gone, when you suddenly disappear from someone's life? Dexter's like, I don't know if anyone will. He's trying to get like the syringe. It's by his foot now. So he's trying to like kind of nudge it over. And then Red's like, what about your son? What'll he say when he hears his father's dead? Because the picture's like on his dashboard of the one that came with the frame that Blessing gave him. Dexter's like, I'm dead to him already. And then Red pulls tighter. He's like, how'd you fudge up so badly? And Dexter's like, I pushed him too hard to be like me. But in the end, I wasn't even being true to myself. And Red's like, He's like, what the fudge does that mean? Dexter's like, there's this thing inside me that drives me. And he's still like nudging the syringe with his foot. For too long, I tried to restrain it, but I can't do that anymore. And he reaches for the syringe, but Red yanks back. He's like, don't fudging move. And he's like, now he's got his hand, he's like holding his chin. He's like, park up ahead. And Dexter's like, okay. And he's like, it's time to let my true self take the wheel. So he reaches. Red's like, what are you doing? And Dexter's like, I'm taking my life back and a name you stole from me. He's like, what name? Dexter reaches for the syringe. The dark passenger sticks the needle like in his, I don't know if it was in his chin or under his chin or like just whatever, right by his neck. He's like, the fudge. He's out. Dexter's like pushes him back, sighs heavily, takes off I was right. Then he takes off this like cut strip of metal that, the stuff that Blessing was using for the rats. It was like under his turtleneck. And he exhales and he's like, don't you know nobody likes a backseat driver? So he has to hope. I mean, he didn't have time to check, but where he pulled over, I mean, it was like on a side road somewhere, but he had to, I mean, he's lucky there's no cameras there. At Red's apartment, I wonder if Red would have thought about that too when he told him, knows, like, if he just said, just pull over here, he's like, whatever, I've had it, I'm going to do it here. Because he's got to think about that too. Although he doesn't have to worry about it because he's got the hood. And he's at Red's apartment. He puts the body down. He unrolls a big sheet of plastic. And the doctor's like, I missed that sound. It's amazing all the things you can order from the internet. Free shipping too. So Red's like completely wrapped up. He's like, it's ridiculous. And Dexter like kind of closes his eyes, takes a breath. He's like taking it in and everything like that. And then he uses smelling salts on Red. And he's like snaps awake. And he like groans and he like curses, who are you? And he just like struggles against the plastic. He's like, what the fudge is this? And Dexter thinks, he's like, after all this time, still nice when they play the same hits. And Dexter's like, yeah, what is this? Who are you? That's usually how it goes. Then I point to your victims. So he turns this like thing around and like the sheets with the driver's license kind of like hanging there. And he like points to one. He's like, Hank Garcia, father of 3, baby on the way. He's like, force you to open your eyes and look at what you've done. But after that performance in the car, I'm starting to think that hearing their sad stories would just give you some sort of sick sense of pleasure. And I'm not here for that. And then Red's like, are you him? And Dexter's like, who? The guy who broke into my apartment and left that invitation with my trophies. Dexter's like, what invitation? And Red's like, I haven't spent any of the money. You can have it all back. It's in my backpack. I don't care how you found the licenses either. Dexter's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't want your money. And Red's like, then why the fudge are you here? Dexter's like, I'm here because of all the innocent people you killed. Red laughs. He's like, innocent? You think those drivers were innocent? They're average, hardworking people trying to make a living, support their families. Red says, fudge him. Like, my dad spent his entire savings on a taxi medallion, and those rideshare a-holes came along, the value tanked. He was so far in debt, he threw himself into the East River. And when they found him, his head was sliced off by the same dredger that was looking for him. So you tell me who the fudge is innocent. And Dexter puts his like gloved hand over Red's face and gets close. He's like, those drivers you killed had nothing to do with your dad. You had no right to murder them or take my name. And he's like, your name? He's like, who are you? And he's like, stands up. He's like, I'm Dexter. And there's only room in this world for one dark passenger. Then he raises the blade. And Red's like, no, please, no. Shunk. And then the blood starts spreading within the plastic. Dexter breathes. He closes his eyes. He's like, just, he's taking it in. Then he, after a bit, he goes to the backpack, finds the invitation. Dear friend, you are cordially invited to a dinner party for like-minded individuals who share similar passions. And the invitation is almost like on a piece of mess, like super fancy. An opportunity for conversation and camaraderie and to share your craft with colleagues. Accept this money as a good faith offering. And he takes out the box. There is more if you're willing to sell your trophies. Yours is a lonely path. Let's walk it together. Meet at the following location. A car will be provided. So he like looks at sees like stacks of like $100 bills or whatever, closes it. It was like, I almost wish, it's like, why you're showing us that there's these stacks of 100. How much money is that? How many stacks? How many layers? How much money are we talking about here? And Dexter's like, only in New York. And he's like, thanks for the tip, Red. But is there really a dinner party for serial killers? We do share a certain resemblance, except I'm still breathing. He drives, and then he's like, an internet search showed me where rideshare drivers refuse pickups and drop-offs, where the NYPD even refused to go. New tenant seeks available unit in quiet neighborhood. Yours is a lonely path. No poop. I learned that years ago. See, he's parked in a like deserted like neighborhood or whatever, and it's dark. He's in his trunk. He's taking bags out. It's like he takes out, almost looks like a can of gas too. He's like, there's no room in the code for partners, not even my son. But this is the second chance that I've been given to be what I am. It's my burden to carry. And he's able to have like, so I assume he cut the body at Red's apartment, and he like he carries like 2 garbage bags like over his shoulder, and he's got another in his hand, and he's got the can. I think it's like I said, I think a can of gas, At the hotel lobby, Harrison's like loading luggages on a cart. Elsa comes up to him. She's like, hey, I got grilled by those cops. And Harrison's like, what did you say? She's like, I told him the truth. And now, if they tell Stefan that I let you stay here, I could be fired. He's like, Elsa, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have mentioned you. She's like, it's okay. I have worked so hard to build something here, but still, I had to make sure that those cops knew that you were the last person who'd ever hurt someone. He's like, you didn't have to do that. And she's like, I know. And then she walks away. And he's just like, then he just like looks at his reflection like in the elevator or something. But I'm still curious if what do you call them? Like chambermaid, housekeeping? Is she really making enough to support herself and a kid in New York City? Because apartment, it was like well furnished too. And she had a nice TV, I think, a decent TV. Well, TVs are cheap. I don't understand. I mean, unless she's getting like some sort of support, like, I don't know. Because I doubt she's getting support from Dante's father. I don't know. Dexter looks inside the old building. So it's almost like it's a big, huge thing. There's like, I don't even know if it's like a warehouse or what it is, like factory. And he's like, my path can only be walked alone. So he puts like the bags of body parts in like this big old furnace. First I thought it was like a cabinet or something like that. But then he like lights a match and then whoosh. And he thinks, but who says I can't meet a few folks along the way? People with similar passions, like-minded individuals. And then he sees thumbprint required for entry. He's like, poop, grabs his long piece of metal, opens like the door to the furnace, like pulls out the burning bag. He finds like a slightly charred arms, like blowing it. And then he sets it down in something. He chops off a thumb. Bon appetit. That's the end. So I guess he's going to this dinner party that Uma Thurman is throwing for them. I forget, she said 6 plates. So does that mean 5 guests? Because I'm assuming she's going to be there. I don't know if her boss is going to be there, but I don't know if it's at her place or whatever. So 5 other people, and they invited the dark passenger, but Dexter's going to pose as him. It's like, I wonder if do they know who the Bay Harbor Butcher is? I mean, but maybe they just assume he's dead. I mean, I don't know. So we'll see if Dexter's going to pose as the dark. I mean, he is the dark passenger technically. And then how is he going to? He's just going to carry the thumb in his pocket and then just stick it. We'll find out. So episode 4 is next week, not this week. All right, Twisted Metal season 2. See, Twisted Metal is back, and the first season, I enjoyed the first season. It was fine. I thought it was weird, first of all, that we had a Twisted Metal show. Because, from what I played at the games, because I'm trying to think, I know I played Twisted Metal 2. I don't remember. I was going to look this morning if I have Twisted Metal 1. I know I have Twisted Metal 2. I know I have Twisted Metal Black. So, I played some Twisted Metal games. And it's basically card combat games with a loose element of a story. Maybe I never played enough, and I don't know if there was story mode in the first ones, I'm assuming. And I remember with Twisted Metal Black, it was like maybe heavier on that. And then with the show, I'm like, I don't know how close. I mean, I feel like this is just very loosely. There's like some elements of that. From what my limited knowledge of this, because I am not going to profess to be a Twisted Metal expert, even though I played a bit of it, I feel like the second season is maybe directing us closer to what the game story elements should be. And maybe that's the reason for that is because maybe people complain about it. They're like, what are you doing? Whatever. And one of the first things, which I actually had to look this up because I was like, whether I knew or remembered or whatever, is about Raven's character. So Raven was Neve Campbell, so we saw her in season 1 when she was introduced. When John Doe, Anthony Mackie, goes to New San Francisco, he meets Raven, and apparently that's not what how Raven was described in the game. So I'm sure people probably like, what is going on here? So it feels like maybe they're addressing that. And then what we have here, because we were introduced, we finally saw Calypso in season 1, and now Calypso's, there's going to be a big tournament. So maybe it's going to get closer to what it should be. So it's on Peacock. 3 episodes are out. So the 4th one will be out this week. So I guess basically going to be like a week and a half behind with this. A week and a half to 2 weeks behind. But we got 2 weeks this week. So the first episode, season 2, episode 1, the titles are like supposed to be license plates, like vanity plates. And I haven't figured out the first one, and I'm probably going to be like kicking myself. PRS RPNT. Serpent. I'm totally missing it. I don't know what that's supposed to be. All right, I actually did look it up. According to Google, it says, according to Screen Rant, it stands for pressure point. Pressure point, I guess. The episode uses the phrase metaphorically to describe Raven pressuring John. Okay, I guess that's... Okay, so let's just get started. So again, what happened is John Doe became a citizen of New San Francisco. Raven, Nev Campbell, gave him a house where supposedly she's like, this is where you grew up. And he was like, what? But, John wants to go find quiet because, she wasn't allowed to come in the city. But then some dude with guns come up and, say that he's going to go in a tournament and win for Raven. Oh, and Quiet met John's sister, and she's like in charge of all these armed ladies with doll masks. So that's where the first season ended. So this episode starts in San Jose, California. You see this truck driving erratically, like all over. It's not a Winnebago. I forget what kind of truck it is. Whatever. It's 1998. There's 2 girls in a truck. So young Raven is driving, and this is more with how she was described in the game. She's apparently like a goth girl, and we kind of see that here. So it's like, I mean, you could be a goth in high school and then grow out of it. So, when she grows up, she turns into Nev Campbell. That makes sense, right? But maybe people didn't like that. I don't know. They're going to go to this party. They see this girl come out of a garage with 2 guys. And they're like, did she just, whatever with those 2? And so it's a graduation party, and they say it's like the douchiest party, whatever. Like, why are you even going there? Because they didn't. I think I guess it's a girl's house because she mentions something about her house. So they go in there and they want to do tarot cards. Raven says that, and the girl that came out of the garage, I forget her name. It doesn't matter. She's like, oh, you better not be doing witchcraft. This is a house of the Lord, even though she was messing around in the garage. Maybe, maybe not. But Raven pulls, she does a card. She pulls out a death card, and they're like, "Oh, how typical," or whatever. And but Raven says it tells her that it means one phase is ending and a new one's beginning. So the snotty girl's like, "Well, we're graduating, duh." And then Raven makes her eyes go white. She starts like choking, whatever. She leans forward, and when she jerks her head back, she's got like blood coming out her nose because she had grabbed like a packet of ketchup in the truck before they exited. So I'm assuming she put ketchup on her nose to make it look like, she's having a nosebleed and, like something's affecting her. And she's like, you have new life inside you. And then her boyfriend who's with her, he's like, oh, no. We only do anal. And then the snotty girl like hits him. And he's like, oh, sorry. He's like, what? He's like, everybody knows. Yeah, house of the Lord, huh? So Raven puts on another card. Like, there might be deceit in the relationship. Is destiny your destiny or someone else's? And I think the girl's name was Destiny. I think that's what it was. So maybe she was in a garage with 2 other guys and not her boy. I don't remember. And so the girl's like, enough. She's like, this is nothing but a bunch of unholy demon worship. And she runs off. And then Raven's like, some people just can't handle their dark magic. Then we hear the girl Destiny scream from the other room. So Raven's friend did something because her room has like markings all over it, like symbols, pentagrams, and stuff like that. It's all in red, so that's not ketchup. And we see Raven's friend. She like giggles. She's like outside, like on the roof. She climbed out the window, and she starts climbing up, but then she slips. Hits the roof, like she falls, slides off, and luckily lands inside a pool. So she slides into the pool. Inside, Destiny screams. She's like, "Who did this?" And Raven holds up the devil card, and everyone, leaves the room, whatever. And Raven goes to the window, and she sees her friend floating face down in the pool, and there's like blood coming. So I guess she hit her head maybe when she hit the roof, or maybe she hit it on the side of the pool. I don't know. Raven drops the cards, and she screams. And you see the pile of cards on the floor, the devil cards faced up. And then she touches a pentagram necklace around her neck, and it cuts to a present where we see someone else touching a pentagram necklace. And at first I was like, wait, is that supposed to be Raven? Because that's not Neve Campbell in season 1. And I was like, did they recast and just, okay, what? So then we see John Anthony Mackie. He's driving this racing simulator. He crashes. He tries to get up, but then these two cops or security, they make him sit down, and he has to keep playing. Then we see him riding a bicycle, and he goes up to a house, and he holds up his license plate, but it says John Doe, Dough. He's like, John Doe, pizza delivery man, because he used to have one that said John Doe, Doe. So the pizza, the guy opens the pizza, it's like trash, because we see him popping a wheelie or whatever, and just like that. So then the guy's he takes some money back. He doesn't want the pizza like that. Then we see him, I think he tries climbing a wall, and he falls. So his arms in a sling, and then he has to play more of the simulator. But now there's 2 officers by his side. When he delivers pizza, they're following him. But he has a cup with crushed red peppers. So after he delivers pizza, it looks like it's all fine this time. He tosses it at one of the officers' face, and then kind of pushes him, hops on his bike to make a getaway. He's like, "See you in hell." But then he's back in the simulator, and one officer is angry, has a patch over his eye, and it's red around there. So he didn't get very far. And we see someone talking, and there's a picture of Neve Campbell on a bulletin board. So this lady voice, female voice, says, "Alpha Raven is stationed at Kelly's bar." And then there's another, there's other women, pictures on there. So she's like, "Alpha Raven is stationed at Kelly's bar. Beta, I need you to lead the community meeting at Golden Gate Park. Keep them in line. Gamma, put an end to the work stoppage at the wharf. Remind the portmaster, I'm happy to hold back on his daughter's medication." So she dismisses them, and John's sitting in a room, and he's like, "Gotta say, I still like the first Raven better than you." So this is supposed to be the Raven, apparently. There are other Ravens. And this Raven, I didn't realize until I looked up. I was like, "What?" She looks kind of familiar. I was like, "What is she from?" This Raven is being played by the actress who was Madison in the Marvel Universe. So if you know what I'm talking about. So he liked the other Raven better. And she's like, "Oh, downtown Raven?" It's like, yeah, everyone loves her. She did well. Fit the look the public tends to respond to. For some reason, everyone fears mommy in a pantsuit. So in my opinion, she got too big for her blouse. And she's like, she's from Molesto? And John's like, "I think you mean Modesto." And then Raven's like, "Clearly you've never been there." It's like, "I gotta say, I didn't like the way she handled you. The tournament could be announced any minute. And instead of having a leg up on the training, you've been running around like a jackass." It's like, and I get it. That girl who shot you in the chest was special. Because when he was outside the gate, they're like, "You can come into the city, she can't." And he's like, well, he wants to be with Quiet, but his dream was to be inside the city. So Quiet shoots him, and then they drag him inside. So she's like, you've been running around. She's like, "I had someone special too. We made dolls of our enemies together." And she's like, "See, if I want you to feel joy, you'll feel joy. If I want you to feel pain," and she stabs a pin in a little doll, and a guard punches him, and he ugh. And she's like, "Uh-oh, then I get to feel joy." She's like, "Try to escape all you want, but you'll always be in my grasp." And she squeezes the doll, and then the eye patch guy puts John kind of in a chokehold or whatever, or sleeper hold. She's like, "The only way you're getting out of the city is by driving my car. You will help me bring back Kelly." And he's like, "Who's Kelly?" And she realizes, she's like, he doesn't know. So she motions the guard, to release him, whatever. And she sits at her desk. She smiles. She puts her feet up. She's like, "You've been a bad boy, Jonathan." And he's like, "That's not my name." So she's like, starting today, you train, you go home, you sleep. That's it. You're grounded. And he's like, whatever. She's like, that means no more DVDs. He's like, you can't do that. She's like, you cause nothing but chaos. She's like, get him home. And he's like, at least let me take a poop first. So she like rolls her eyes. She's like, dump away. So she sits for a second, and as she gets up, she opens the bathroom door because the two guards are like sitting outside. John's like halfway climbing out the window, and he just like kind of like smiles. She sighs. And he's, he chuckles or whatever. In Molesto, we see this guy with like spurs, like walking in like an office building, and then he sees like some guy dropped a bucket of some liquid or something like that. He's like, "Oh, is your arthritis acting up?" And the guy's like, "Eh," and then he like shoots him in the head. So there's other people there. There's like this big vat of like some liquid stuff. They're like stirring or whatever, and he yells, he's like, if you horses can't work, to the gluer you go. He's like, now move, we got orders. And then there's gunfire outside. The dude starts to like scramble away. He hides in a storage closet, but then bullets start like piercing the door like it was made out of paper. And he screams. A lady in a doll mask opens the door, and Dune's like cringing. And she's like, where's the medicine? And the guy starts like, some other guy tries like sneaking up behind her. She just tosses a blade over her shoulder and stabs him in the head. He's done. Then she puts another blade up to the dude's throat. She's like, don't make me ask again. So he's grabbed, he's shoved like out with the other workers. They're all sitting on the floor with their hands up. The lady like walks up. So I'm assuming this is John's sister. She has a Polaroid camera, and she takes pictures. She's like, before the dance. And the guy's like, dance? What dance? So she's like, word on the coast is that you're making pharmaceuticals for the insiders. I'm here to fill my prescription. And the guy's like, that's old news. It's like, they make all their meds in-house now. Then she's like, then what's all this? And he's like, lube. He's like, we struck a deal with Flagstaff Sex Colony. And she's like, Arizona, huh? Or I think one of the other dolls like, gets real dry down there. And it's like almost as dry as his wife. Someone else, and they're all like jeering and laughing. So he stands up. He's like, you think this is funny? He's like, you and your little puppet whores have been attacking my supply lines. Insiders all over are dying because of you. And she tilts her head, long pause. She's like, and outsiders are dying because of you. And so insiders are people who live in the city walls. And everyone else is outsiders. It's like, we are just here to make things even. So she holds up a little canister, and he's like, what are you going to do, mace me? And she's like, no, I'm going to make you dance. So she squeezes the mace, but then flames comes out, blows into his face. He screams. And he's like on the ground, like, and she's like, you can't find that shade of pink anywhere. She takes another Polaroid pictures, and she tells the ladies to take everything. Then we see Stu. So Stu is the big dude who was with Sweet Tooth. So he's running. There's a guy like struggling to like pull a seat out of a car. Stu yells. He's like, you got to help me. It's like, there's a monster after me. Because it's like, is Sweet Tooth going to kill him? Whatever. We don't know. The guy's like, who is he? Then Stu's like, my best friend. And then he stabs the guy. The other two guys who were on the other side, they like come around to see what's going on. Sweet Tooth impales one with his big, huge blade. And he slams the other guy. And he's like, pancake. He like hits him on top of the head. So Stu's like, how'd I do? And Sweet Tooth's like, He's like, well, let's start with the positives. He's like, passion, I can't even teach that. But unfortunately, you missed every major organ on his body. So the guy's like on the ground, like, he's still alive. So then Sweet Tooth's like, when in doubt, go for the fruits. He's like, grapes, which are the eyes, apple, which is the Adam's apple. And he's like, and banana, which is the penis. So he tries to figure out what to do with the guy. He's like, It's like, should I let him go so he can tell everyone what happened here, or carve a hole in his back and use him like a puppet? He's like, the first one. He's like, I'm a big gossip. I'll tell everyone about Big Baby. And Sweet Tooth's like, who's Big Baby? And he's like, Big Baby is the most famous killer in the whole country. He slaughtered a whole town in one day. And Sweet Tooth's like, no. He's like, I'm the main event. I'm the star. I'm not going to get upstaged by some child. He rips out the guy's Adam's apple. And he like tosses it to Stu. He's like, apple. He's like, now come on, we got a baby to kill. So then we see John sitting on a sofa. He's got a big frown because security. They're taking like a box of DVDs and his TV. One guy's like sorry, John. I think that was Chester. So John's trying to figure out what to do. He looks on there's a shelf in the living room. There's a bunch of board games. He's like 2 to 4, like 2 to 6 because he's looking. How many players are there? And he's just one person. Then there's like a bunch of books on the shelf, like Babysitter's Club, like complete series, like so many books there. So he's like, he decides to read one. And then it cuts to later, there's like, he's laying on a sofa. There's like stacks of Babysitter Club's book on a coffee table. He's on his belly, feet up in the air. And then he's like, he wipes a tear with a tissue. He's like, goodbye, Don. He's like, I'm so happy you and Mary Ann made up before you left for California. And then he's like, he goes to the next book. He's like, 90? He's like, where the hell is 89? So he read 88 books. So he can't find 89, so he's just going to go ahead and read 90. He starts reading. He's like, Abby? Who the fudge is Abby? He's like, you mean to tell me I missed a whole new member being inducted into the club? Fudge! Pooh! So he jumps up to like check everything on the shelf, and then he realizes it might be upstairs, and he curses. So I guess he's been hesitant to go upstairs, because if this is his house, he doesn't want to go there. Because one of the guys had mentioned something. He's like, you could sleep upstairs instead of on the sofa. It's not good for your back. So he's going to have to go upstairs to see if he can find a book. A bunch of the dolls are dancing around. There's armed guards. Quiet's there. John's sister's talking to everyone. So, they have a lot to celebrate. Insiders are quaking. They have Quiet to thank. The raid was her idea. They disrupted the milkman's supply chain and all this other stuff. But they have to go bigger, badder, bloodier. They have to destroy the one thing standing between the insiders and the outsiders, the wall. So they're going to bring bring down the walls of a mega city. They have the best foods, the best supplies, the most wealth. So it's time that they get a piece, and they all cheer. But Quiet seems a little reluctant. It doesn't look like she thinks this is a good idea. John is at the bottom of the stairs in the house. So then he goes upstairs. There's like a kid's door. There's like stickers on everything. When he opens it, it looks like it's a boy's room, but then the other half is a girl's room. And there's a shelf next to the bed. He's like, there's my girls. So, there's some books. He finds 89, opens it. There's a square hole cut in there with a lighter and a joint. He's like, oh, man. So he decides to light the joint. He coughs or whatever. And then he sees a tin behind the books. I guess it's like a diary or something. So it must be his sister. Right? Because she wrote about, she's like, horses. I really love horses. All this stuff like that. And he's just kind of rolling his eyes. And she talks about, she drew a map because they went to their grandparents, their granddad's cabin or something like that. And when she got there's horses, all this stuff. And then she said something like, oh, and then there's I wrote down this big secret, but it's on page 72. So then he goes to the book where he looks there. And then there's this big note. It says, made you look, you big dumb dookie face. He's like, I'm not a dookie face. He rips out the page and he crumples it. But she drew a map of the tunnels or something like that. Where she drew a map of the tunnels where her brother went in the sewers and got pink eye. And he's like, that's not nice. So then he gets an idea. He's going to try the sewers. At first, when I was like, okay, this is supposed to be his house. Did someone else live there since he was there? Because, he's acting all kind of weird about it. But what it is because he doesn't have any memories of this. So that's his room. He goes into his childhood bedroom. His sister, he's looking at his sister's stuff. But it doesn't mean anything to him because he doesn't remember any of that stuff. So later, the nice security dude, Chester, he comes in. He's like, hey, John, I got a hoagie for you. A hoagie for, I forgot what he said. But then on the coffee table's a note. It's like, meet me in the bathroom. So he goes up there, and then he's kind of embarrassed because the shower's on. He's like, oh, sorry, whatever. And John's like, get your ass in here. And Chester's like, you're a great friend, but this is as far as it goes. And John's like, no. He looks over the top of the shower curtain. He's like, Raven could be listening. She hears everything. He's like, you're the only one I can trust. He's like, okay. And he starts taking off his vest and stuff. John's like, what are you doing? He's like, get in here. And he's like, so he gets in there. Then he's like, why are you naked? And John's like, you expect me to take a shower in my swim trunks? He's like, don't be an idiot. He's like, when I was a kid, my sister drew me a map of the sewers so I could explore them like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And Chester's like, this feels like a story you could have told me out of shower. And John's like, no. He's like, you know where the sewers lead? To the bay, beyond the walls. It's a way out. It's like, Chester, we can escape. And he's like, John, I'm not sure I want to escape. And he's like, what? Chester's like, I heard stories. It's like a ghetto out there. It's like, there's a reason they put those criminals out in the city. And John's like, you know me, am I a criminal? He's like, no, it's not just that. He's like, what? He's like, it's Raven. She controls us, all of us. She knows where to put the pressure to use our weakness against us. He's like, Chester, do you know what's outside those walls? Freedom, right? He's like, you can go anywhere. He's like, anywhere you want, with whoever you want. He's like, my family, we have a cabin. He starts to describe the beauty of it out in the middle of nowhere. And when he finds his girl, he's going to take her to that cabin. And he tells her, says, you can come with us. He's like, but you have to tell me right now, are you in or are you out? He's like, right now. He's like, I need to know. And finally, he's like, okay, I'm in. At the doll, their little village or whatever, tents, Quiet goes to talk to Dollface, John's sister. She's doing some sewing. And Quiet is a little bothered that, she sees the Polaroids up of the burnt guy. And, that's kind of gross or mean. I don't know. So she wants to talk to her about the plan. And Dollface starts fixing. She looks at Quiet. She wants to fix her eyebrows because she says that, they're not even like twins or not matching or whatever. So she starts, tweaking them or cutting, razor, whatever. So Quiet's like, we lost ammo and fuel today. It's like, we're going to lose a lot more than that if taking on a mega city. It's like, I bonded with these girls. It's like, I don't want any of them to die. And Dollface is like, you know what's dead? Those cheeks. Because she wants to put more makeup on her. So Quiet's like, I wear a mask half the time. And Dollface is like, a mask doesn't hide our beauty. It unites us. When one doll falls, another picks up the mask. And Quiet's like, huh? And she's like, I believe in the mission too. I don't think your plan is a way to fix things. So Dollface is like, then what's your plan? Ask nicely. They're living it up and we're living in hell. It's like, I can't even reunite with my brother because he's behind some concrete and rebar. Not that he'd remember me anyways. It's funny, when I heard about some motor-mouthed milkman who drove halfway across the country, I knew it was my brother. I just felt it. When I went looking, I found you instead. You just fit in. And now we're going on to a big party. You have to decide, are you coming with? So then we see a guy's eating chips or something like that in his big station wagon. And there's a big baby on board sign. And he's like, Mama. He's like, I'm thirsty for milk, which is weird. And there's a gray-haired lady in the bush. She's like, Mama can't nurse you right now. She's making her water. And then Sweet Tooth's ice cream truck pulls up. And she's like, she's still in the bush. She's like, Sweetums, we got stranger danger. So Big Baby gets out. And it's gross. He has an umbilical cord sticking out of his belly. And Sweet Tooth's like, oh, that's cute. Big Baby's last steps. What you got there, little guy? So at the end of his umbilical cord is this big spiked ball. And he starts spinning it. It's a really long umbilical cord. He's spinning it around. And he's like, oh, you disturbed my feeding, you fudge. And then Sweet Tooth's like, Baby said a no word. Stu's just kind of watching. Mama comes up to him, punches him in the face. And then she hits him again. She kicks him, his knee kind of goes down, and then she slaps him. And then she grabs him by the ear. He's like, ow, ow, ow. Baby throws the ball a couple times, he misses. And he's like, Sweet Tooth's like, oh, Baby likes to miss. Stu tries swinging, but he misses a few times. Then Mama kicks him in the crotch. And then she slaps him again. Baby throws a umbilical cord, misses again. And Sweet Tooth's like, coochie goo. So she kicks him again, but then she falls to the ground. She says something about her pelvic floor. I don't know if she just kicked too hard and if she hurt herself. I don't know. Baby throws the ball and it smashes through the window of the station wagon. And that kind of sticks there. Sweet Tooth takes his blade, cuts down on cord and cuts it. Gross, white, some liquid starts shooting out of it and Baby screams. And Sweet Tooth's like, hey. It's like, what the fudge is that? And Baby's like, I knew you'd find me and kill me, trash man. Sweet Tooth is about to deliver a killing blow. But then he drops his blade. He's like, whoa, wait, trash man. It's like, who's trash man? And Big Baby's like, the biggest gun this side of Mississippi. And Sweet Tooth's like, ah! He's screams. He wraps the umbilical cord around Baby's throat, starts choking him. Then he gets in the truck, Stu comes up, and he's like, and stay down, you old hag. So he's like, what happened? Sweet Tooth's ranting about someone named Trash Man out there who's even more famous killer than Big Baby. So Sue suggested they do a contest and get the best killers to go up against Sweet Tooth in a battle royale tournament or something. Then when he's a survivor, everyone will know that he's the best. Sweet Tooth's like, that's legit, sent chills down my spine. He's like, I love it. And Stu's like, great, how do we invite everybody? And Sweet Tooth's like, we? He's like, no. He's like, you're more of a logistics guy. I'm the talent. He's like, you better get on that. Chester's standing outside by some manholes. There's 3 manholes on the ground. 2 of their cop security guys come up. He's like, John said he was going to escape. He's writing on John. He's like, John said he was going to escape through the tours in one of these. And one of the guys' radios goes off. It's Raven. And she's like, you've done well, Chester. So she is listening everywhere. But then he's like, ma'am, then one of the other officers is like, ma'am, he's wearing John's clothes. And she's like, what? Chester's like, he lent them to me. He's like, he lent them to me, ma'am. Mine were wet. We took a shower together. And she's like, what? John's like walking in wet security. You see he's like leaving wet footprints. And he salutes some other guy. Then he climbs in the bathroom that he tried climbing out before. Raven's in her office, and he's just like outside her office. There's like this gate with like a number lock code. He tries a combo and it beeps. I don't know if he paid attention, looked, and he's like, what was the name that she said? He's like, Chloe, like Christy. He's like, no, poop. He's like, that's a babysitter's club. He's like, come on. And then he gets it. It opens. He chuckles. He's like in a parking garage now. And there's a covered car. He's like, no way, Evelyn? He lifts it up a little bit. He's like, oh, poop. He's like, you're not Evelyn. He's like, well, with a little bit of work, he's like, you'll be a bad witch. But then there's this muted beeping. And so he goes, it's like, what's that noise? He goes around like the corner to check it out. And there's an ambulance. There's someone in the back of an ambulance. He's like, what the hell? Because there's like furniture in there. There's like an end table. There's a lamp on there. There's a picture frame of young Raven and her friend. He's like, you must be Kelly. And then there's like amplified staticky laughter. So there's like several old TVs stacked, and then a Calypso broadcast begins. And he's like, good evening, friends. It's so and this Calypso guy, he doesn't really seem menacing or anything. He seems a little more weird, with his long hairs and his like big eyes or whatever. He's like, good evening, friends. It's so nice to see all of you. I am Calypso. I've got a very special announcement to make. So let's get to the business at hand. I'm hosting a tournament, and I invite you, the best drivers from all across the divided states of America, to compete. Assassins, mercenaries, vigilantes, joyriders are all welcome. In 1 week's time, my contest will begin. The rules are simple. Choose your vehicle and show how good you are by defeating everyone else. The last one standing will be crowned a victor. And then we see like Stu holding up a cardboard like tournament sign, like bracket stuff. And he's like, what do you think? And Sweet Tooth's like, I think this Calypso guy beat you to the market. So Calypso continues like, but what is a contest without a prize? If you win my tournament, I will grant you a single wish. No matter how rare, no matter how costly, no matter the consequence, your deepest, darkest heart's desire will be yours. At the end of my contest, one wish will come true. John looks at like the car he found. And then Calypso's like, will it be yours? Will you drive? And there's like laughing. But his laughing is almost like a cackle or whatever. Raven smiles. A cop radios, the Golden Goose has flown the coop. Eyes on John outside the wall. And she's like, well, then shoot him. And he's like, yes, ma'am. The ambulance won't get far. Arming the missile now. And she's like, ambulance? And she's like, hold your fire. And she runs down to the garage, sees the missing ambulance. She curses, but then she sees Kelly in the bed, like behind her, like it's all set up. Furniture's there and everything. So she goes to her side. She's like, you're okay, you're okay. And she sees some like paper in her hand. So she takes it and opens it. Made you look, you dumb dookie face. John put the note in her hand. So he whispers like, mother trucker. She's like, just a setback. We'll be together again soon, Kelly, I promise. In the Dow Village, one lady says that they can't be taking this poop seriously, like wishes. And Quiet's like, I met Calypso in Chicago. He's real. And another lady like makes some comment, but Quiet's like, this guy turned on all technology at once. So are we forgetting that already? Are we goldfish? He's like, we have to enter this tournament. If we win, we can wish to bring down all the walls, not just for one city, all of them. Then someone on the PA is like, we got a heavy mover out of New San Francisco. Could be medicine. Dollface is like, okay, load up. And she tells Quiet, she's like, we'll put a pin on this. So John's driving the ambulance. But it's like, what about the car? He takes the ambulance. He decides to put on some music, but he hits the sirens on accident. And then we see a couple cars spread out behind him. They start shooting. He's like, guess Raven got my message. So they try like boxing him in. They're like on both sides. He's like, this would definitely be better with some music. And then you hear DMX's Rough Rider anthem playing like faintly. He's like trying to figure, he's like looking at it, he's like, what's coming up? He's like, what the fudge? It's the Dows. They're in like a car carrier. There's like big guns on top. There's big speakers, a boom box. They shoot a couple like colored missiles, like with colored smoke, hits the two cars on the side of the truck. John drives like past, and with like a gaze, he locks a look with his sister, but she's wearing the mask, so he's just not going to recognize her. Then there's like two kind of like dune buggy Beetles are driving. They drive off the back of the car carrier. They start shooting. He's like, I think he says something like, this has a big butt, don't it? Because they're shooting the back of the ambulance and not doing anything. And then this other car shows up. He's like, that's my fudging car. It's quiet driving is Evelyn. So it shoots a missile at him. The ambulance goes flying up, flips a couple times. So when it finally lands, he kicks out the windshield. And then he gets up, he goes around, looks around. He gets shot in the shoulder and curses. He's like, God damn. And then there's a voice, John? He's like, quiet. She lifts up her mask. She's like, surprised. He's like, you shot me again? And Dollface walks up, lifts her mask. She's shocked. Is that you, Lionel? He's like, Lionel? Who the hell is? And then someone cracks him in the face like a rifle. And it's like, Ashley, what the fudge? So Ashley knocked him out. That's the end of the first episode. So not a bad first episode of the season. And, you know, they could have easily ended right there. Big, huge cliffhanger. But episode 2, season 2, episode 2, DOLF4C3. This one is easier, obviously, Dollface. So then it cuts back 10 years ago. This car pulls up. There's a lady, says her boyfriend. She says, remember, this is our first time at the council. It's like, you know, they're going to try to railroad you. So she's talking like her boyfriend or whatever. And she's like, you can do it. She like slaps him. He's like, I'm tough. I can do it. So they go into like, it's like a pizza place because there's a sign of, there's like a sign of this little kid eating pizza on the outside or something like that. There's this table. So I think Dollface, you know, she sits next to where her boyfriend sits, and this dude comes up to her, or the other dudes at the table are like, look at her, and the guy leans over. He's like, that's my seat. He's like, why don't you go fudge off with the lipstick, because the men need to talk shop. And her boyfriend's like, sorry, boxer. It's like, still breaking her in. And she kind of gives him a glare, and he's like, what? So she reluctantly goes up. She goes into the bathroom. There's other women inside, like, laughing and drinking. They see her, and they're like, well, don't just lurk in the shadows. It's like, you're with the new one, right? And she's like, yeah, for now. She's like, I'm Krista, by the way. So John's sister's name is Krista. And John's name is Lionel. We just apparently... So they start talking like business themselves, or they're talking about trading and stuff. And Dollface, Krista, she's like, hold up. It's like, I thought the guys out there were making the deals. They all laugh. They're like, we're the ones who make the real trades back here, babe. Because they're talking about like trading tampons and batteries and all this stuff. She's like, outside is just a monthly penis measuring contest. So then there's like smoking joints. They're laughing. They're telling stories. And one's like very nice. She's like, oh, that's right. But then she pulls out a gun. She's like, okay, I totally don't want to kill you girls, but Boxer said that I have to. It's a whole power play thing, so he can control the supplies. But just to be clear, I so do not want to do this. And Chris is like, well, what if you didn't have to? And they all look at her. And Chris is like, we put up with their BS for protection, right? But look at us. We're in the driver's seat. We make the deals. We deserve so much more than just a seat at the table. We deserve the whole GD room. Or do y'all want to be the bitches banished to the ladies' room forever? Outside, one guy's, he's like, all right, it's time to measure our, he has like a ruler. And Krista comes out and she turns the chair around. She sits. The other ladies come out, like they go by their guys like behind them and like kind of like caress their face or whatever like that. Krista's like, so the ladies and I have been talking and we've all decided that we're dumping you. Now, this is an amicable split, so we'll leave you children the baby food and take the rest. The men like scoff. And she's like, those are our terms. Take it or leave it. One guy might be Pedro because someone mentioned Pedro. And he's like, you ungrateful sluts can leave us, but you try to take our supplies, we'll fucking kill you. And then his girl like stabs him in the side of his throat, starts like spurting out. The others move and then they get blades at their throat. Chris is like, anyone else have something to say? And someone said something, I forgot what it was, but so outside, Chris's boyfriend, you know, they're all like standing out there, and her boyfriend's like, you're nothing without me. She's like, I was your ride or die. And she kind of like tilts her head and like stares at him. And she's like, well, the ride's over, so shoots him. The others all start shooting. Also, all the men got shot. That's how the doll started. In the present, John wakes up, he's handcuffed to a bed, and he's like shirtless for some reason. But he's not just shirtless, his pants are gone too. He's like groggy. He tries moving his arm, and he's like, sees his cuff. He's like, hey. And then, because there's a doll sitting at the end of his bed with like a mask. And it's like Ashley. So she's the one that hit him. And she's like, hi. He's like, what the hell are you doing here? She's like, don't worry about your pants. It's like, I had to search you for weapons. Only found one small caliber. So you escaped New San Francisco. Impressive. Or rather, I would be if you weren't a spy. He's like, spy? I'm not a spy. She's like, oh, playing dumb. Classic spy move. You better start talking or mom's going to start tweaking those pricky little pepperonis. 'Cause she has like some like weird pliers or something like that. And then she's like, makes a movie, starts like freaking and she's like cackling. Then Quiet walks in. She's like, what the fudge, Ashley? Dollface Krista walks in too. And Quiet's like, you were supposed to come get us when he woke up. And she's like, oh, you meant like right away? Ugh, fine. She's like, you used to be so cool. And then John's like, oh, Quiet. And she's like, I'm so happy to see you. He's like, I have so much to tell you. New San Fran, it was a trap. Raven tried to get me to play video games all day so I could enter the tournament and win her wish to help her creepy coma friend. I'm happy to see you. And she's like, it's good to see you too. And I'm not the only one excited to see you. So then Krista's like, Lionel, it's me, Krista. And he's like, you must be confused. My name's John. And she's like, right, your memory, sorry. He's like, God, you look exactly the same, minus the braces. He's like, how do you know I had braces? She's like, I know because I'm your sister. And he's like, huh, wow, okay, and chuckles. And Chris is like confused. He's like, that's his reaction. He's like, well, it's nice to meet you again. And then they like hug, because he gets up, he's like wrapped in a blanket, and it's like a weird, awkward hug. And then he's like, so what's up with the masks? Outside, they're walking, and you see like women sparring and stuff like that. Chris and John, they're talking. She's like, we call ourselves the Dolls. It's like the divide between the insiders and outsiders grows by the day. So we fight to make things even Steven. We're making real change. Our numbers grow with every community that we free. We started off with just 4 women and became all this. John sees a lady walk out of a tent and like wink at Quiet. He's like, huh? Because they were dancing very closely, like in the last episode. So they go into this other tent. Krista gives John some clothes. There's like all these like hangers and stuff like that. And she's like, this should be your size. And he's like, you could tell all that from a weird hug. And like quietly, she's like, wasn't that weird? So he goes like in a changing room, comes out dressed. And she's like, so catch me up on the last 20 years. I want to know everything. He's like, well, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, milk manning. And Quiet kind of like rolls her eyes, because he thinks he's so cool or something. He's like, had a cool car, met Quiet, here we are. She like kind of looks troubled, and maybe because he doesn't seem to care. So this lady walks in and says, like, scouts are back. She's like, do you want to debrief now? Chris is like, yeah, now's a good time. She walks out without saying anything, and Quiet looks at him. She's like, seriously, John? It's like, your sister hasn't seen you in 20 years, and the best you can come up with is milk manning? He's like, I thought I would feel some way, remember something, but I don't. I look at my own sister and she's a complete stranger to me. And she's like, just don't shut yourself off. Just because you don't feel it now doesn't mean you never will. He's like, sure. And she's like, come on. She's like, I got something you'll definitely remember. So they go and see Evelyn. He chuckles and everything. He's like, oh, you're a sight for sore eyes. He's like, so since I've been gone, he's like, look, this looks like you made some changes to the car. And she's like, I would call them upgrades, but yeah. And I don't know if he's talking because like the girl winked at him, like there's some changes. So he's like, upgrades, right. So has Roadkill, the car, had any new passengers since me? And she's like, a few, not that it's any of your business. He's like, no, it's not. It's your car, your call. And he's like, so what's a few? Like 2, 12? She's like, John. He's like, okay. So you're not going to believe this, but I found a place that we can go to. My grandfather had a cabin, and it's remote as hell. It's up in the Sierras, right? And it's got a lot of fishing holes, and we can catch our own dinner. Nobody will find us. We'll be safe. We could live together, just you and me. And Scott's like, I mean, if your posse wants to come, they can sleep on a couch. I'm like, that's cool. She's like, that cabin sounds great. He's like, yeah. She's like, it does, but I can't run away. When I met up with the Dolls, I realized I've been fighting against everything instead of fighting for something. I can't go with you because I'm entering the tournament. And he's like, no. It's like, that tournament is a guaranteed death sentence. She's like, yeah, but if I win? He's like, now we're dealing with ifs? So she's like, when I win, I'm going to wish to bring down all the city walls. Finally put insiders and outsiders on an even playing field. It's bad out here, John, and it's getting worse. But I think if you do that, there's going to be a lot of deaths. Because the people on the inside are soft because they're used to the easy life. People on the outside are ruthless killers. And they're going to go in and they're just going to kill like so many people and take what they want. And after a while, it'll balance out. And maybe it's like, oh, they had it rough, so they deserve, I don't know. John's like, you're going to be dealing with the most ruthless and dangerous drivers in the country. And Quiet's like, maybe I'm the most ruthless driver in the country. And he like rolls his eyes. And she's like, oh, eat a poop. Is that so hard to believe? He's like, I don't want you to die trying to prove it. She's like, you can't just show up after 7 months and start making decisions for me. He's like, oh, right. It sucks when people make decisions for you, right? And he like pulls on his shirt because, she shot him to make the decision about going into the city instead of staying with her. And she's like, you know what? She's like, I can't believe you're still mad about that. You said all you ever wanted was to go inside and you were about to give it up. He's like, you should be thanking me. He's like, I should be thanking you for shooting me? It's like, which time? Because it gets less and less cute. Then someone like takes something out of a drawer and she's like, little mother trucker. He's like, quiet. And she's like, if you think I'm going to change my mind, scoffs. It's like, you don't even know me. Outside, she's like, hey, douche canoe. He's like, you took that without asking. And the girl's like, oh, quiet. It's like, might be. It's like, Ashley asked me to jimmy the door. She locked her keys in it again, second time this month. Quiet's like, yeah, Ashley is really flaky. Except what's weird is this isn't actually her car. So the girl turns and she drops some packs of something. She's like, a couple of dolls synced up on their periods. The gauze is flying off the shelves like crazy. So Quiet opens her vest, like shakes. A lot more stuff like fall to the ground. And so the girl's like, okay, you got me. I'm not a doll. And Quiet's like, no poop. It's like, when did you sneak in? And she's like, yesterday. She's like, look, I'm so sorry, but my baby brother, I left him at our camp a few miles back, and he's really sick. I mean, it's like blood and piss bad. I swear, I only stole what I needed to. And a gun falls out of her vest. Put him out of his misery. Quiet picks up the pistol. The girl's like, oh, okay, take it easy. I mean, we can handle this like adults, right? And Quiet's like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Pow, knocks her out. Chris is sewing. Others are in the tent, and they're one's like, are we gonna talk about the elephant in the room? And another's like, yeah, your brother's fine as hell. And the first one's like, it's like, oh, I'm so glad you said something. It's like, I'd make his face my car seat. So they go on. It's like Chris is like appalled because it's her brother. And then John storms and like, Krista, we need to talk alone. So the other girls leave. She's like, you brainwash Quiet. So I don't know, unbrainwash her? He's like, now. And she's like, want to try that poop again? And she stands up. She's like, no one barges into my tent and orders me around, even if they're blood. He's like, you can't let her enter the tournament. And she's like, we still haven't decided who's entering the tournament. But yeah, she's a contender. He's like, I know Quiet. She's not ready. And Chris is like, you knew Quiet for a minute. I've known Quiet for 7 months. Plus the tournament was her idea. He's like, it was? She's like, yes. We both know no one can brainwash that girl. Even if I did agree with you, which I don't, by the way, she would still do it. He's like, I'm right. And she's like, I can tell. And he's like how? And she's like, because Daddy used to make the same face when he knew I was right too. It's like, I still can't believe you haven't asked about our parents. I was like, I mean, don't you want to know what happened to them? He's like, is it a good story or a bad story? She doesn't say anything. He's like, thanks, I'll pass. Quiet's wrapping a chain around a girl on a tree. The girl calls her a hypocrite, saying, they steal all the time. And Quiet's like, it's complicated, kid. And she's like, hey, don't call me kid. I'm Mayhem. And Quiet scoffs. Like, you named yourself that, didn't you? And then the girl's like, wow, I'm really getting a lecture on names from you, Quiet. And Quiet's like, well, at least I didn't name myself. The girl's like, it's a really bad idea that you're keeping me here, okay? People are after me, dangerous people. And if they find me, you won't like it. And Quiet's like, oh, well, then you are free to go. Hope those little arms are strong. And she leaves a hatch in a tree for her to chop down. She's like, oh, am I supposed to chop down a tree with this? Like maybe a bush, but a tree? And she just walks away. John sits by a car. There's one other dude there before who was like rubbing their feet and stuff like that. So his name's Jeremy. He's like, hey, it's good to see another Y chromosome around here. And John's like, please don't try and bond with me. So Krista talks to the whole group about Calypso's tournament beginning in a few days. It's an opportunity to change everything, but it's a long shot. They need as many dolls to continue the fight from here. So they're going to send just one doll and one doll only. If you want to be considered, stand up. Quiet stands up. She's like, I'm ready to take on any mother trucker who stands in my way until I get my wish, our wish. Then Ashley stands. Another girl's like, sit the fudge down, Ashley. And she's like, no, I'm ready. John's like, me too. They're like, you can't drive. You're not a doll. Mayhem laughs over by the tree. They're like, do you have something to say? And she sarcastically is like, oh, is that okay? Because I'm not a doll either. And she's like, are you scared to drive up against a man? Because from over here, it seems like you don't think you can beat him. And if you can't, well, what makes you think you have a chance at this tournament? Krista stands on loudly, so she's like, enough. She's like, the toddler has a point. And she's like, the girl Mayhem like rolls her eyes. And she's like, oh, really? And she's like, we need to see who has what it takes. And there's only one way to reach a conclusion. It's a battle of hearts, wheels, and wits. Prepare for the dance of the... And Mayhem's like, dolls. Krista's like, did you really step on my line? And Mayhem like smiles and like nods. Quiet says to John, she's like, are you really going to go this far to stop me? He's like, you sound threatened. Afraid I'm going to show you up? And Quiet's like, anything you can do, I can do backwards. He's like, so think, don't I? And she's like, God, you're such a dingus. So think, don't I? I don't think so. She walks away. John turns to walk, but Jeremy's right there. He's like, hey, thanks for standing up for our gender. He's like, because of you, I'm throwing my hat in the ring, brother. So he's going to try too. Later, some dolls like run by a mask. Mayhem's like trying to hack away at the chains, and she hears like a growl in the woods, and she like looks back, and she's like, "Oh, fudge me! Something's gonna come and eat her." Cars are lined up. John's in another car, like one of the beetle doom buggy things. Krista says that she didn't think that he'd be fighting to help their cause after one day. He's like, "I'm not. I'm trying to keep quiet from throwing her life away." He's like, this is what I got to do to stop her, then so be it. Chris is like, stop her? It's like, you're going to watch her fly. It's like, and try not to mess up shrapnel too bad. He's like, you name your car? And she's like, yeah, because that's what he does. Krista gets in front of the 4 cars. She says the first cross finish line it wins. The winner will represent the dolls in a tournament. She's like, now who's ready to dance? They're like, woo, they all cheer. They start. Jeremy's car stalls right away. And Dolls like, asks another, like, is Jeremy crying again? At one point, how somehow Quiet is driving backwards, and she like waves at John, and he's like, "Oh, now she's doing my move." And in her car, she thinks to herself, she's like, "Oh, he probably thinks I learned that from him." She spins around. Chris is like, "Time for some fireworks," and some colored explosion goes off on the side of the track, so they have to swerve. John's in the lead. He's like, "Get ready to eat my..." Whoa! There's another explosion, and then she's like, "Enjoy second place." More explosions. Dolls pop-ups are shooting paintballs at them. So can't see out the front. The windshield's like covered in paint. Quiet hits like this big puddle in front of him, like washes the paint off. He's like, thanks for the wash. Ashley's in the lead, and she yells. She's like, I'm going to win this. But then there's an explosion, and it like knocks her like kind of off the road, the track a little bit, and she hits this mound of dirt, and she like curses. Quiet loses a little traction, but she has to control it. So John's in the lead. She considers, I'm assuming it's like nitro boost. She's about to hit it. She's like, no, not yet. So they're like neck and neck. John's in the lead. She can't get past him. And then she's like, screw it. Hits a nitro. Whoosh, takes off. And he's like, it's too fast. And he's like, going too fast. She wins, but then she like hits the side of a tree, slams into a tree. So he gets out, runs her. He's like, are you okay? He's like, let me help you. She gets out. She's like, I'm fine, John. She's like, I said I'm fudging fine. He's like, I don't need your help. So obviously he's kind of hurt or whatever. Krista tells the lady that they need to get Roadkill, the car, to a garage. And she has a tournament to win and needs a... Because I think... Didn't Quiet call Evelyn Roadkill? I don't remember. Because she's like, she has a tournament to win, needs a makeover real bad, so need to fix up the car. And so they like all cheer and everything like that. Quiet takes a swig of a bottle and asks, she's like, hey, where's the kid? And I was like, who cares? So Mayhem's gone because she got eaten, right? So Quiet heads over to look for her, and they're like, where are you going? And she's like, that little poop has my best hatchet. So she walks off. Krista says to John, she's like, told you, she's a real deal. But it's like, why? Because she was driving a better car, which was his car. And he's like, yeah, I see. So I don't know. I mean, it was neck and neck. I don't think she would have, if she didn't have the nitro, she wouldn't have won. Quiet yells for Mayhem. She's calling out. And then she's like, I want my hatchet back. She's like, give it and maybe I won't kill you with it. And then she hears it's like something. She throws a hatchet behind her. It hits a tree. John's back there. He just grabs it and like gives it to her. He says that he's like, I just came to say congrats. And she says, thanks. Then she sees Mayhem like tied to or chained to a tree. She's like, what are you doing here? But the chains are still there. Mayhem's like, run. Out of like the leaves or the ground, this dude pops up. He has like a spear. He's like wearing skins. Another one has like horns. And John's like, who are these horny people? And Quiet's like, now's not the time. And so there's I couldn't figure out, were there two, were there more than two? Because the way the fight, he's like, you couldn't tell how many. It seemed like there was a lot. There's at least two, if not more. So Quiet sees that one of them has her hatchet like hanging on its belt or whatever. And she's like, I see you have something in mind. And one like, right, girl stole from cave our food, our cans. Girl must pay. And John imitates, girl must pay. And he chuckles. It's like, hey, you guys are committed to bit. I like it. Quiet's like, make the girl pay all you want. Take her back to your weird inbred hole. It's like, I don't care. I'm here for the hatchet. And Mayhem like gives her looks like, really? So Quiet like looks at her, then at John. She's like, all right, come on, guys. It's like, look, I'm John. This is Quiet. Let me help the mood with a joke. He's like, how about that? It's like, knock knock. Quiet throws her other hatchet at the chain around the tree, and it breaks like just like that. She's like, run. She shoots at the grunty guy, but I don't think she hit her, whatever. The leader lady, who was like, it seems like only the leader could talk, she like covers her ears and she yells. She's like, metal dog bark loud. Quiet's like, yeah. It's like, fear the metal dog. She shoots again. I think she shot the guy, or she shoots the guy this time. But he knocks the gun out of her hand. Mayhem picks up a hatchet, like I guess it's a good one, and then more fight, twist around like that, and John's like, he says something like, we're just barely together, now we're fighting cavemen or whatever. Then on the ground, Quiet yells, she's like, where the fudge are my axes? Mayhem, she has both of them. So she calls out to Quiet, and she like holds them both up. So Quiet starts running towards like the really big dude, because he's like standing over John. John's like on the ground, and he's about to like kill him or something. So she's running. She steps on John's back, launches herself in the air. Mayhem throws both hatches. Quiet catches him, swings, chops the big dude's head off. And Mayhem's like, I'm surprised. I didn't think that was going to work. So she's like surprised and impressed. And then John's like, looks like you learned a lot in those 7 months. And she's like, so did you. Where'd you learn to punch like that? And he's like, we had Mortal Kombat inside. And she's like, well, thank God for whatever that is. And she's like, is it weird to admit that was kind of fun? He's like, no, not weird at all. And she's like, it was nice to do that one last time. He's like, well, it doesn't have to be the last time. Mayhem's like, where's that gun? I'd like to put it in my mouth. Quiet's like, thanks for having my back, John. See you when the walls come down. And she walks away. So John's standing in front of like a pond. He's like throwing like pebbles or stones into or whatever. Krista comes up. She's like, what's up, Lionel? And he's like, nothing. He's like, just fighting cave people. So he didn't like say anything about, does she call him Lionel? So she chuckles. She's like, yeah, I heard you and Quiet make quite the team. He's like, just like old times. And she's like, must be tough to finally reunite with someone only to find that they're not the same person. If only I could relate to that. But he doesn't even acknowledge that. She's like, look, I know you don't believe in our fight, but those walls are the reasons our parents are dead. They're the reason Quiet's brother is dead. So who are we to try and stop her from doing something about that? She's like, look, I get it. You don't want her to die. You can't save her. All you can do is just be there for her and have her back if she wants it. And he's like, thanks. And she's like, so how'd you get those braces off, huh? Good story or bad story? He's like, long story. She's like, I got time. Quiet cuffs Mayhem to a tree, the chain, and she's like, oh, you saved me, then you leave me here to die? Quiet's like, you're staying here with the dolls. It's like, you might have been fine on your own before, but your lying little butt almost got buried today. The dolls will have your back. Sometimes you need to have more than anything. And Mayhem's like, what, like you and John? And she's like, no, like that is very different. And Mayhem's like, I get it. I went through the same thing with my ex-husband. And she's like, your ex-husband? Because she's a kid. And she's like, yeah, Gene and I got hitched after my first period. God, that was a weird honeymoon. Quiet's like, was he your age? And she's like, no. He was much younger. And then I realized I didn't need Gene. So I am with you. If you don't need John, dump him. I mean, who wants a talkative old man around anyways? She's like, he is pretty old. Mayhem's like, yeah, was he like 60? And she's like, all right. And she's like, 70, 80? Quiet walks away. She's like, oh, come on, that was funny. We were bonding. So I can't tell if I like Mayhem or not. She's kind of annoying, but kind of funny. John finds Quiet like by other cars, like the other cars are getting loaded with the ammo and supplies. He asks if more dolls are entering the tournament, and Quiet's like, no, just extra protection for a drive up. And he's like, look, I still think the tournament is a bad idea, but obviously you don't need me. You're a badass, Quiet. I'll be rooting for you. And she's like, look, I was thinking, and she like mumbles, maybe you should go with me. And he's like, I'm sorry, did you just He's like, I'm sorry, did you just, what? And she's like, you know what? Shut up. And she's like, come with me. He's like, wouldn't want to cramp your style. And she's like, just to be crystal fudging clear, John Doe, I don't need your help to win. I just want you by my side when we do. He's like, let me check my schedule. And he pretends to be hitting buttons like an invisible watch. He's like, you're lucky, I'm available. And she's like, So Chris is like, all right, let's head out. So like, if you two are going to win, you're going to need some special weapons. And the baddest, deadliest, most overpowered specials can only be found in one place, Diesel City. So they start off, and then you see a piece of fabric gets pulled into their trunk. So what's that mean? Mayhem must be hiding in there. Why else would they introduce her? Because she's probably going to be like a regular, annoying, whatever, laughter character. Comedy relief, is what I'm trying to say. In the middle of a forest, there's like this big facility. It's a Blackfield Asylum. And maybe that means something from the video games. I don't remember, whatever. But there's like a bunch of empty cells, except one like way in the back, big metal door, like no bars, just like solid metal. Someone like opens a little slot, slides in a letter with like a wax seal in through the door. It's like dark in there. How's a prisoner gonna read in there? He opens it, and you hear Calypso's voice, even though he's reading. Will you drive, Mr. Grimm? And then this door slides open, and there's a helmet with like a skull painted on it. And the prisoner smiles like, yes. And in deeper voice, we will. So if you know Twisted Metal, you probably know who Mr. Grimm is. And that is the end of episode 2. So we'll have, I think after this, so I can do 2 this week. I think maybe I'm going to go stick to just 1 per week. That way it'll give me a little bit of a buffer. So we'll see. But I'm enjoying it, and it's kind of crazy. On Rotten Tomatoes, I saw this. I think it went down a little bit. It's at 80% on Rotten Tomato, 87% popcorn meter. So I don't know if that's the entire series. It's not per episode, but it's a good show. I'm digging it. Okay, now the movie feature is Together, and I'm going to be full disclosure, full upfront. I'm recording this part a little earlier before like the rest of the podcast. And the reason is because the movie opened up Wednesday. And so just in order to try to fit everything together, I'm recording this now. What that means is I can't really address like box office stuff so much. I don't even think there's not even, because it opens on, I think I said it opened on Wednesday. And there's no information. So I don't know how it did. Maybe I don't know if I can try editing it later. I don't know. We'll see. The movie cost $17 million to make. So it's a low budget, which works in its favor. The thing with this movie, it's not going to be a huge, it's not going to be a huge blockbuster. I mean, people are, even though it's like different, and that's the weird thing when you look at these movies. So I should mention, so the movie stars Dave Franco and Alison Brie. It was written and directed by Michael Shanks, and there's a little controversy. We'll talk about that in a bit. But this, it's Neon, Neon is the same company that did The Life of Chuck, which I watched again, because that came out on digital, I think it was last Tuesday. And so even though I plan on getting the physical release for The Life of Chuck, I'm buying this digitally because I need to watch this again. So I have Neon's done some other good stuff. So they're another like smaller studio, whatever you want to call them, someone to keep an eye on. So I feel like the movies that they put out, I haven't seen everything that they've distributed or whatever, but it's like they make smart choices. It seems like they don't necessarily put out bad stuff. It's just, similar with A24. When you have an A24 movie, you kind of know that it's quality stuff, and they may not always be like totally hit, whatever. It doesn't matter. So this movie, it's probably not going to be the biggest blockbuster draw. And even though we have Dave Franco and Alison Brie who've done a ton of movies, I think that they're necessarily like huge household names. They do a great job in this movie. We should talk about right now. When the reviews first came out, it was at 100%. And I think that was based off of, I forget how many, if it was like 40 or 50 reviews. So a bunch of early reviews were favorable. As of now, when I record this, and this may change, right now 97 reviews are in the bucket or whatever, and it's at a 97%. So of course there's going to be some people that don't like it. And looking at, when you look on Rotten Tomato, again, let me just clarify, it is not Rotten Tomatoes that is giving the score the rating. This is an aggregate. This is based off of these 97 reviews. And people always think like, oh, Rotten Tomatoes is getting paid. They are not getting paid. They just take all the reviews, and it's just all averaged together or whatever. So when you look at like the aggregate, the score, it's based off of that. All right, here's our weekly edit point. I got cut off. I got kind of interrupted. I had to stop recording. I had to do some other stuff, which was fine. And so now, a little bit later, so it's probably better this way because I don't remember what it was. I don't remember. I think I might have said what the Rotten Tomato score was. I don't remember. I did. It dropped. I think the critics score was at a 97. Now it's at a 91 because of course there's going to be a bunch of people who either don't get it or they shouldn't be reviewing horror movies because they don't like it. I mean, it's just, a lot of times you see these reviews and you can see by the little sound bites that they clearly do not understand, or maybe they didn't realize what they were seeing. The popcorn meter is a 79%. That might have gone up a little bit. I don't remember. Yeah, so looking at this, Rolling Stone said, no one could accuse Together of being an instant modern horror classic. Future cult film status among codependent lovers, however, is almost assured. So yeah, this is probably something that people are going to really be, coming back to later. Chicago Reader says it trusts the audience to grasp the metaphor and revel in the squim-inducing details. Yeah, so here's one not so good. Tribune News Service. While Together offers a few rattling screams, gruesomely original images, and a pair of actors who are game for it all, the result is not much more than a frustrating slight genre exercise. So that was a 2.5 out of 4. Winnipeg Free Press, 3.5 out of 5. Though the story is slightly weakened by the perfunctory treatment of Tim's family tragedy and by an overly abrupt and tied-up conclusion, it's a clever, capable debut feature. Yeah, so, I mean, audience reviews. Ryan says, great movie, I really liked it. 5 out of 5. See? People aren't so, it's like, do you really care? Did you like it? Were you happy? This is what matters. Leanna says, it was a great horror comedy that still had you guessing, but the comedic relief at the end tied it all together perfectly. 5 out of 5. Here's another 5 out of 5. This is Floisha P. I really enjoyed the director's take on togetherness while mixing some comedic, and it wasn't that much comedic. So yeah, there's a lot of 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. All right, now what I can also say, and I haven't even gotten to what the story is about. It looks like, so the budget was 17 million, and as of now, as I record, it's at 4.1 million. It looks like it's projected to gross 7.5 to 10 million. So it's going up against The Bad Guys 2 and The Naked Gun. Really diverse set of movies there that we're talking about. So Naked Gun, which I'm not seeing, right now on Rotten Tomatoes, critics have it at a 90%. Popcorn meter is 82%. A buddy of mine did not like it, but he is like a grumpy old man. If you're listening, yes, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to call you out. But man, he just does not like funny stuff. I don't know why. It's like what I said to him. I was like, did the Naked Gun not invite you to the after party afterwards and you're angry at it? So, but what can we say about Together? I don't think I said very much before, and a part of me felt like I should just like start over, just like throw out what I recorded before. But I wanted to keep that because that was like right after I had seen it. Like so, Together. So James Franco and Alison Brie, and they're married in real life, which is cool that they're doing this movie. But this is a freaky movie. So basically, what happens, they're a couple. They're in their 30s. They're not married, they're like dating and they're like maybe, semi-engaged, whatever. And they're living in the city. She ends up getting a job teaching in this like remote, it's like 2 hours away from the city or something like that. And, a small little school. And she really wants to go there to make a difference. She's like a really good teacher because, they comment like this other person's like, she has a really great resume and everything like that. This guy was like on the interviewing committee. And because he's like, why are you here? And because she says she wants to be somewhere she can really make a difference. Because teaching in a big school, you just get lost in the shuffle or whatever. So she has this opportunity to go there, and Dave Franco. Did I say? I don't know what I said before. Dave Franco. If I said James, Dave Franco, Alison, Brie. Dave goes along with and everything, but he doesn't have a job because he wants to be a musician. Like that's his thing. And that's where it's like, okay, 35-year-old, I think they said 35-year-old's still like on a dream that he's going to make it. It's still possible. I'm not saying you can't be 35 and not make it as a musician, but the fact that he hasn't yet, so he goes with her, and then like before they left, he finds out, because her brother has a band. It's a little more successful because when they talk to him, like before their like going away party, and they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm making some more songs, and thinking to put out an EP." And they're like, they mention something about the label, but he's not with the label. And they're like, "Man, you got to be with the label because they do everything. They set up all this stuff." And he's like, "Yeah, maybe I should get back with the label." But he probably couldn't get with the label if he wanted because he doesn't have any material and everything like that. But they're talking about like going on tour. They lost, I think, like a guitarist, and they were going to ask him, but he was leaving, and they're like, "What?" It's like, I could do it. They're like, "Yeah, but we're 2 hours away, and it would mean a lot of rehearsal." And it's like, "And you don't drive." He's like, "Well, I could take the train and that." So he still wants to do that. They go to the small town, and one of the things that you see is there's this hiking couple that got lost. So that kind of comes into it later, because like. At one point, it starts off, which I'll mention this. So while they're looking for the hikers, there's like a search party. There's like this hole, like in the ground, and a couple of dogs like end up. They go down there, because they're searching. They drink from this pool of water, which right then because if you've seen the trailer, you kind of know what's happening. So these dogs drink from the trailer, and then then you see them just like sitting there, like staring at each other. And then, they're time to call the search party off. They're like calling dogs, and then they finally get them. And then when they put them in their like little kennel at home, they're just like, it's freaky. It's like the two dogs just sitting there like staring at each other. And it's like, that would like freak me out. And then something gross happens with the dogs after. And that plays into it. So, obviously, if you've seen the posters, if you've seen the trailer, something happens, and like people are like merging together somehow. And so when I'm looking at it, it's like, is there something in the water, in the ground? Is there what's going on? The couple, they decide to go for a hike. I mean, there's stuff with his family, which I'm not going to, and I kind of agree. It's like, yeah, we don't really need that. We're not going to get into that. There's a reason for it, whatever. They go for a hike. All of a sudden he decides he wants to go on this different path because it's like different. She's like, I don't think there's really a path there, but there's these bells and like along the way. So he's like, no, there's a path here or whatever. So they go there. They're hiking. Then it starts raining, and then there's like a little cave in, and he starts like falling in this like ditch. So she's like trying to help him. Then they end up both like down in this hole, and. So it's this big like cave, this cavern down there. They decide here. He's like, we should just stay here until it stops raining. And she just wants to get out and stuff. And then at one point they only have a little bit of water in their canteen thing. So he's like, oh, there's water here. She's like, we probably shouldn't drink that. But he tastes like, oh no, it's fine. So he drinks it and fills up the water whatever thing. And they end up like staying there. They make a little fire and stuff like that. And so then the basic, like what's happening is that now they're like being drawn to each other. And there's a point where, she goes off to work, and he's like at home. I think she goes off to work, either goes to work or to the store. He's like in a shower. Then all of a sudden he's like in this weird trance, and he's like, as she's like making turns in the car, he's like kind of sliding all over and in the shower, and like it's freaky, and they can't resist, and she doesn't really see it because it's like it's affecting him for some reason, but then it like switches, and it gets there's some parts that are pretty gruesome, that like cringing, and and when you it's like, you want to look away type of thing, but it's not like overly gratuitous just for the sake of doing that. So what I thought was weird is like, is this a horror story? It's not really. When I hear horror stories, this is what I really would think. It's more disturbing. But when I say disturbing, it doesn't mean like, oh, you should avoid this movie because it's going to be upsetting. It's like kind of weird and freaky. It's like, when I think of horror, I think of more like, oh, there's a killer on the loose, or whether it's like something a little silly like Freddy Krueger, or something a little more like Long Legs or whatever. I would say that's a horror story, but it's not really like a horror story like that. But it's just kind of weird. But there was this point where something happens, and like there's like a couple people like literally screamed in the theater. It like catches you off guard. It's not like where they're forcing the jump scares, like a lot of times movies will try to do that, and it's a little annoying. But I feel like it was all very well put together. The only thing, which I will say, kind of jump ahead a little bit, is we get an explanation, like why, what is happening, what's this cave, what's going on, why, but it's not like a full-fledged detail explanation. And maybe what we get is enough. It's probably more than enough, but it's not fully, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence where like, did we need more, or is that good enough? And I almost, part of me, I don't think we really need more, but it just seems like, wait, that's it. And so is it, someone mentioned that it felt a little rushed at the end, maybe a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, how much, do we need to, how long do we need this to go on for? It's 102 minutes, so it's not super long, so what, an hour and 40 minutes or whatever, 42 minutes. I think, yeah, it did feel like it rushed a little bit at the end, and then it's like, wait, what's going to happen? And yeah, so that would be the only downer I would say. That it does feel a tad rushed, but they do a good job. It's just, it is kind of disturbing. It is, but it's interesting just to see how it all plays out and everything. And the fact, like I think I said this, is that it is something different. It's not a sequel, a remake, a reboot, or whatever. But there was some controversy over this. I guess I'll address it. I mean, it's not a secret. So in May, the director, Alison, Brie, Dave Franco, because they whatever went into this, and Neon, the distributor, they were sued. So I'm just going to read this from Wikipedia, because I read about this before when it happened. I was like, wait, what? So they're sued alleging copyright infringement on the 2023 film Better Half by writer-director Patrick Henry Phelan. Their production company, StudioFest, was a plaintiff in the suit. According to the filing, Better Half was pitched to Brie and Franco in August 2020, who rejected an offer to star because they wanted to produce it themselves and have William Morris Endeavor hire a writer, that's their talent agency, I guess, hire a writer for the material. Claims on supposed similarity between the two films were also made. Shanks, the director, denied the allegations, stating that he wrote and registered his first draft in 2019. So they pitched this to Brie and Franco in 2020. He wrote his first draft in 2019, and the story being uniquely inspired by his relationship with his wife, and that his agent pitched Franco with his script. I don't know. I mean, obviously, but I mean, if it's filed, if he read, there's that. So, but a lot of times, these are just big coincidences, and how many ideas can there be? And it's the same thing with songs. I say songs are. I mean, songs are a little different. I think like music, there's a finite number of combinations of the music notes that you can put together. Maybe, because then you have the interpolate, whatever. Movie, I mean, maybe it's a little different because, is there a finite number of movie ideas? I mean, you can always try to do something else, but I think there's always going to be some similarity. Now, I haven't seen this other movie, so I don't know. I guess that would be the question of seeing that. I don't know if it's available anywhere because I'd never heard of it. See, what was it called? It was called Better Half. Okay, so I just looked up Better Half. So Better Half is not available. It's not streaming anywhere at the moment. So it came out 2023. It follows Arturo, who is searching for true love. This is a comedy also. Arturo, who's searching for true love, and Daphne, a polygamist allergic to commitment. So that right there sounds different. They meet for a one-night stand, but they end up finding their missing halves when their bodies fuse during sex. That to me doesn't sound like they're similar, but I don't, I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to it. So I think they won, but the thing is, if he wrote and registered a draft in 2019, and that was pitched to Brie and Franco in 2020, that right there said it all. I mean, now it depends on what was in the first draft. How detailed, how much did it change, and if they were if they were pitched it, but did they actually read a script from the Better Half script? I don't know, but there's that. I was about to say who cares? No, but obviously this dude cares, and I would like to think that that's not the case, because that's the other thing. When you hear about these, like Taylor Swift's getting sued for stealing, Shake It Off, and then she's gonna put it out there, and then have people listen to, and like millions and millions of people are gonna hear it, and you're gonna get away with it. It's like, no, you can't do that. And Dave Franco and Alison Brie, maybe they're not like Tom Cruise box office famous, but they're big actors. People know them. So wait, they're gonna steal an idea or take part in stealing an idea and put it out there, and in hopes that the original person's not gonna find out about it? Who would do that? That's just silly. Although there is that guy, the New York Times writer, was it the movie The Simple Truth or something like that, where he did plagiarize stuff and wrote it in the New York Times, but he had like other issues. He started taking drugs and what. So I guess people do steal stuff and think that, I don't know how you think you could get away with it. That just does not make sense. So I would like to think that everyone involved here is smart enough not to think you could get away with it, and would be ethical enough not to try to do that. So maybe it's just a big weird coincidence. But that description does not make it sound like this movie that I saw. I think you should see this movie. It's weird. Is it like the best horror movie of the year? I'm trying to think what other horror movies have there been? It's definitely what I like. Me, I like these weird, freaky movies. They're disturbing. I would say this is better than Sinners because it's different, and I feel like there's just something here. People will probably not agree with me on that one, but that's fine because we all have our opinions. But I really like this, that it was just, even like the location and the setting, it was just weird and freaky and disturbing, and but again, not like you're watching puppies get killed or something like that, because no one wants to see that. So this is just weird and freaky. And as far as the comedy stuff, like, I don't think there's really a lot of comedy, but there's a couple parts where it's almost like a little absurd, where you might feel the need to laugh because it's like, that's crazy, but it's not like necessarily like trying to be. It's not like The Naked Gun funny, which apparently some people don't think that's funny at all. But I think that there's really nothing more to say. I don't, and as I also said before, I don't recall how much I started speaking on this. I feel like it was just like 5 or 10 minutes, if not even 10 minutes. hopefully it wasn't longer than that, because otherwise this would be too long. But I think that's going to be it. It's a weird movie. It's good. If you want something different, I definitely think you should check it out, and just be ready for it. But I thought it was good. So I'm glad I saw this. I do want to see it in Naked Gun, but I'll see it someday. I don't know if I'll make it in the theater. That might be kind of hard, but definitely you should see together. And you should definitely listen next week. But that is going to be it for this week. So big thanks to Andrew Loken. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30 minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. We are back. We are still covering the Hobgoblin story, and we are getting to the juicy parts because where we're at. So, this is what makes it fun for me. Let me explain, because no one knows who the Hobgoblin is. Spider-Man does not know. Readers did not know. And so that's part of the fun of the mystery. Is like, who the heck is this? Hobgoblin wasn't that great of a villain, because he was able to do certain things and get away with it for so long, in that sense he was. But this was like for me, the fun was like, who is it? Because then once they start, like, I think it was, I forget, it was last week or whatever, where they're like, Robbie's like, where's, Lance Bannon, where's Peter Parker? And then it's like, Spider-Man and Hobgoblin are fighting. So could it be that they're not around the Daily Bugle because they're fighting? But then Betty's also like, where's Ned? He's supposed to be home. So does that mean that Ned is a Hob? So it's like you have all these different clues. And there was even before J. Jonah Jameson, why is he going to gym all of a sudden? Why is he carrying this gym bag, duffel bag? Does he have like Hobgoblin costume in there? So that was a fun, and some is a little absurd, but it's like you don't know, and that's what I enjoy about these look backs. So that's what you can get. But also, if you want to talk about something else or whatever, like I said, I'm open to suggestions, and I want to talk about whatever you want to hear about. Because like if it was something about why is the Hobgoblin so good, so cool, why is time travel so weird in movies, stuff like that doesn't fit in a regular podcast, because this podcast is long enough, especially when I'm rambling here for so long. So you get more if you want to hear my thoughts on something. But if you can't commit to monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or two. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. What is going to be next week? Next week is going to be weapons. I don't know much about this movie. What I do know is it has Julia Garner. And so it's like, here's the thing. I don't think I've ever seen her in a movie. I know she was in Ozark, whatever, which I never finished watching. I need to. She was in Fantastic Four. Now she's weapons, like 2 movies within a month. Also, like Josh Brolin is in this. Benedict Wong is in this. And so it just seems freaky where like all these kids disappear one night. It's like, what's going on? And it's like her class, because you see her, she walks in a class in the morning, none of her students are there. So it's like, why is it just her class disappear? What's going on? And that's I'm looking forward to that, because this looks like something else. I'm assuming it's like an original story idea. And that's what I like. I love the other stuff. I love the comic. I love the Marvel movies and everything, and I love sequels and remakes, and But I like this as something different, because I really don't know what to expect. So we'll have that. We will also have the final Squid Game. We'll have another Dexter. We'll have another Twisted Metal. I think Wednesday comes out this week. Part 1. I don't know. I'm on the fence with that. I enjoyed the first season, and I like the show, but I guess we'll see where it's going to go. I don't know. So we're going to get, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 episodes this first time. So, and then the second 4 will be released on September 3rd. So it's almost like we could do like one per week up until part 2, because one thing I'm not going to do 4 episodes. I don't know if I could do 2 episodes next week or this week, because like on Thursday and Friday I have 2 all day things at the county office, and and I don't know if I'll be going in my classroom tomorrow or whatever, because I still have more to set up. I don't know about Wednesday. Maybe. Let me know. I mean, maybe it'll be 1 episode. We'll see. But I hope you are doing well. I hope you, if you are going back to school, or, I mean, again, maybe you're not. I talk about summer vacation. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. That was so long ago. I hope you are finding time to do fun things. I hope you're taking care of yourself. And I hope you remember, be good to each other.